Apocalyptic Black Technology System. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 120 Layout. Although Lin Yuandong also saw that this was a nano-weapon, his reaction was a little slower. He didn't realize it until Qiao Xiangjun reminded him, and immediately issued an order. Defense against short-range guns unlocks safe mode, which automatically retrieves enemies. Qiao Xiangjun and Lin Yuandong's caution was not groundless. The nano-invasion, manipulation, and transformation capabilities displayed by this ghost ship are completely beyond their imagination, and are even far ahead of the nanotechnology mastered by the current Xinjiang fleet. They have to guard against it. In the records of the swarm, the Proxima fleet is even suspected to have smaller units of weapons, no matter how small they may even pass through the energy gap of the shield. Therefore, Lin Yuandong ordered to activate the automatic retrieval defense system of the short-range guns to ensure that there is nothing wrong with it. However, this is just a precaution. From the current point of view, the Proxima Centauri fleet does not have any intention or tendency to attack the Xinjiang fleet. On the contrary, it is very active and friendly. This weapon was exposed in front of the fleet, which put the fleet on guard. From this point of view, these visitors to Proxima Centauri are still sincere. Qiao Xiangjun turned this thought in his mind, but he didn't relax his vigilance, but immediately passed the harvest here to the direction of the Earth. But on the Earth, in the sky above Qiaoshu Island, in the bridge of the Yuncheng, Su Ran was able to grasp the frontline situation almost immediately, and he immediately passed this information to the countries that were anxiously waiting to achieve complete wartime information sharing. At the same time, he immediately sent back the order, saying, "Continue to detect. I need you to spend 4 days to detect these 11 spaceships." Lin Yuandong and Qiao Xiangjun were slightly taken aback when they received this news from the fleet. "Isn't that right? You don't want results, but time?" Qiao Xiangjun, who is maintaining real-time communication with Lin Yuandong, frowned and muttered, but Lin Yuandong's reaction in this regard was much faster than Qiao Xiangjun's, and said, "Su Ran wants us to delay. So what he wants is 4 days, delay. What are you doing?" Qiao Xiangjun is not very clear, but he believes in Su Ran's determination, and the detection is a long process. Although it is clear that the ghost ships of the other party are completely controlled by nano-machines, they still need to further explore these spaceships' weapon systems. It would be nice if possible to figure out how these nano-machines work. The longer the detection time, the more useful information will be obtained, and it will undoubtedly be more beneficial to the Xinjiang fleet. If there is a real fight from this aspect alone, Qiao Xiangjun agreed. It's just... Qiao Xiangjun glanced at the 12-sided conical spaceship dock silently in the distance. Will the Proxima fleet let the Xinjiang fleet see their warships inside and out? Lin Yuandong didn't think too much about it. In his opinion, this might be another test by Su Ran to test whether the Proxima Centauri fleet really came with the idea of peace for a civilization that can lay out its layout for 7 months. Such temptations should definitely be had. Of course, Su Ran's real idea was to delay until the completion of his own aircraft carrier Type I. At the same time, Su Ran was really testing it out. He always felt that something was wrong. The longer the time, the more cooperative the Proxima Centauri fleet was. This feeling of having a problem has not subsided or weakened, but has become more and more profound, and even makes people feel uneasy. However, what is wrong? What is, where, went wrong? Earth outer space. Tong Mayaoki was staring at the moon in the distance in a daze, until her deputy Jin Ziyang handed her a cup of coffee, and the female captain came back to her senses. "Thank you, Representative Kim. You should call me Adjutant Jin." Jin Ziyang smiled. Obviously, for her, the title of Adjutant Narcissus of the Xinjiang fleet is undoubtedly more suitable for her. She glanced at her captain, and it was rare to hit the nail on the head. "Authentic, are you a little nervous?" Jin Ziyang, who has always been very nervous, can speak directly to the point, which surprised Tong Mayaoki. She shook her head with a smile, and nodded again. "I am really a little nervous. How should I put it? It is like the first time I am walking in a chaotic environment. It's the same when performing missions on the streets of the Middle East, but at that time I knew I was nervous about my inexperience and the fear of death, but now, to be honest, I'm a little confused about what I'm nervous about." "Are you worried about Captain Qiao and the others?" After Jin Ziyang hit the nail on the head, his level quickly dropped, and he began to guess wildly. "It's nothing to be nervous about. Think about it. Captain Qiao was a soldier. It is said that he used to be a sniper. As for Brother Dong, although he is not from a serious combat force and I don't have much contact with him, I can tell that he is a cautious, observant and thinking person. Together, they can be said to be the safest people in the current fleet. They are entertaining the Proxima Centauri fleet in Jupiter orbit. What is there to worry about? Although Jin's Hiang's persuasion was a bit thoughtless, it was really useful, and Tuamaya Okio even burst out laughing. Why are you laughing? You are also called Captain Lindong. But, how did you come to know that Captain Kiao is a sniper? It is not a secret that he is a soldier, but not everyone knows that he is a sniper. What? Jin's Hiang smiled and said, my good sister Zhengsha Hoshino told me that I know more than that. Do you know that it is said that Chen Ling, who is now in the biological laboratory, used to be an old acquaintance with our commander? The two knew each other as early as in Bingchang. Tongmaya Oki was not very clear about this matter. She only knew that Chen Ling and Su Ran had a good personal relationship, but she did not expect that these two people had known each other as early as in Bingchang. Hoshino Zhengsha, he didn't forget his job when he joined the fleet, but how did this become a gossip? The next time you see her, you have to talk about her. She is still not established in the fleet. Be cautious in your words and deeds. Tongmai Okyu said that he was cautious in his words and deeds, but his eyes were wide open, and some curious looks flashed on his already bright face. But, hurry up and tell me, do you know any gossip? Gossip, etc. Representative Jin showed an exaggerated expression, and leaned into his captain's ear, and the two started whispering like this in the distance. The slowly orbiting moon is silently watching the silent Yuncheng, like a silent bystander forever. Chapter 121 Starry Night. New Year's Day, January 3rd. Earth. The new capital city is being shrouded in darkness. Yi Kijin didn't fall asleep, walked out of his barracks, squinted his eyes and looked at Yuan Kong. It was already late at night at this time. Even if the recovery of the new capital city was quite good, the power supply was cut off at this time. All the lights in the urban areas where the survivors live were all extinguished, and even the military camp stationed in the new capital city there are no lights, so the stars in the sky appear so bright. As the saying goes, soldiers can get promoted the fastest in war, and this sentence is very true for Yi Kijin. In the past few months, Yi Kijin has been promoted one after another, and now he is no longer the company commander of that mere armored company. Now he is the commander, and he lives in a relatively better place in the barracks, and there are fewer dangers on weekdays. Moreover, from the Pacific War to the present, Yi Kijin has hardly experienced the state of intense preparations before, but these 2 days things are different. Along with New Year's Day, it has been nearly 3 days since the Proxima Centauri spacecraft appeared outside the Earth. During these 3 days, the policy of news blockade is gradually being lifted, and the whole world is making preparations. I don't know what happened, but as a team leader, Yi Kijin already knew the latest situation yesterday. The fleet of Proxima Centauri has arrived in the orbit of Jupiter and is negotiating with the Xinjiang fleet representing the Earth. This lengthy negotiation is said to have lasted for 3 days. It is said that if the Proxima Centauri fleet drives to the Earth at full speed, it will take less than 2 hours for them to appear outside the Earth's atmosphere from the orbit of Jupiter, which is invisible to the eye. Obviously the threats are already close at hand, but for the vast majority of people on the Earth, this is still a very illusory thing because the aliens didn't even appear near the Earth in their shadows. The situation and mode of war are gradually changing. Don't know what will happen. I don't know what will happen to the Xinjiang fleet. Yi Kijin sometimes feels his own powerlessness, even though he has become a team leader, but in this case, he is still in a state of doing nothing and being unable to do anything. I don't know what the outside of the starry sky is like. Yi Kijin sneaked out tonight. In fact, he wanted to find a place to smoke 2 cigarettes secretly. It's not that Yi Kijin is addicted to cigarettes, he just wants to take a break under the pressure that he knows that the alien fleet is coming. But he can't do anything. Therefore, Yi Kijin's figure tonight looked a little wretched, looking for a hidden place, but unfortunately, before he found it, he bumped into someone who was absolutely unexpected. It was Shen Rong, the commander of the mixed army who was stationed in the new capital some time ago. It was Yi Kijin who was discovered by Shen Rong first, and he waved his hand and said hello from a long distance away. Xiaoi. Yi Kijin became Xiaoi in this way. In fact, in the past, it would have been almost impossible for Yi Kijin to meet such a high-ranking military officer. This is a special period, and secondly, Yi Kijin has also been promoted. Taking advantage of the darkness, Yi Kijin stuffed the half-pack of cigarettes he was holding in his hand into his pocket without any trace, walked over with a smile, sat down on the chair by the roadside side by side with that Commander Shen, and said, "Commander Shen, you haven't slept yet, didn't you sleep too?" Shen Rong smiled, without any airs of authority. "What are you doing out so late? Are you looking for a place to steal cigarettes?" Cough, cough. Yi Keijin shook his head again and again, and said, "How is that possible? I just suffered from insomnia for the past 2 days." Shenrong looked at him, laughed, and said, "I've heard about you, the Battle of Ice City. You cooperated with a Xinjiang fleet to draw from the bottom, and copied the bottom of the insect nest. You are a character, you can come if you want. 1-1. I will never report on you." "Do you believe this when you say it yourself?" Yi Keijin slandered in his heart, and said, "Who am I? Commander Shen is joking. Looks like you're a little nervous." "No, just a little." Abrupt. Yi Keijin knew clearly that he was guilty of guilt at the moment, but Shenrong didn't seem to care much. He smiled and said, "Tell me, what does the Xinjiang fleet look like, and what kind of character is that commander? The last time I saw him, on the one hand, before we could really get to know each other, the Xinjiang fleet left. Let me tell you, I am also a fan of the Xinjiang fleet. I am a soldier. I will be a fan of whoever wins the battle." This call back to Xinjiang City to garrison, I still specifically asked for it, but I didn't realize it. Yi Keijin was a little stunned when he heard this remark. In his memory, Shenrong was an extremely majestic figure. He came to the new capital with great military exploits. Although he was not bossy in the past, he still stared at him. No one dared to take it lightly. The one who answered the phone, today, why is he so approachable? Yi Keijin thought for a while, and said, "I don't know what kind of person he is. In fact, I didn't expect that. A few months ago, we were fighting in and out of the Ice City. In the past few months, everyone has gone to heaven and earth. I'm still rolling on the ground, so let me talk about what happened to us at that time. I don't know much about the others, but I'm a participant in and personally experienced the Battle of the Ice City and even the later Battle of the Brood in the Sky by, under the faint moonlight." Yi Keijin began to tell, from the Kuroshio in the Ice City to cleanse humans, to the battle against the Jedi in the Ice City, to breaking out of the Ice City and encountering the Sky Brood, and then to the Battle of the Sky Brood. The fiery cloud that burned the Sky Mother Nest. Shenrong just kept listening, and rarely spoke. When Yi Keijin finished speaking, he didn't speak for a while, but just watched the night silently. Yi Keijin waited for a long time, but didn't see what his chief officer wanted to say, so he asked, "I don't know, how is the situation outside?" The outside here, of course, refers to space. Although Yi Keijin knew that the Proxima Centauri fleet had appeared, that was all he knew about his identity, so he was somewhat curious about the current situation. The Xinjiang fleet is confirming whether the Proxima Centauri fleet is a threat, and the two sides are negotiating whether humans can complete the annihilation of the swarms so that the Proxima Centauri fleet will stop in Jupiter's orbit. Shenrong did not show any taboo, generously. Said Fangdi, "The Proxima fleet has always shown a lot of concessions. But only in this matter. They insisted that the fleet visit the Earth in person and wipe out the swarm." Chapter 122 The Origin of Proxima Centauri. Come to Earth and wipe out the swarm. Yi Keijin's heart skipped a beat when he heard this sentence. However, no one agreed to let them approach the Earth. As far as I know, in the previous Global United Front meeting, we actually made a plan that the Proxima Centauri fleet would arrive on the Earth to wipe out the swarms in person, but this compromises it can't be done easily, Shenrong said. Moreover, the observatories and observation sites around the world have been activated, seems to be looking for the origin of the Proxima Centauri fleet. The origin of the Proxima Centauri. The origin of the Proxima Centauri, Chile, Pagan Mountain Gemini South Station Observatory. A stubble-faced scientific researcher waved a set of comparison data recently printed out in his hand, rushed into the laboratory, and shouted excitedly, Joey. Calm down, it is Ronald who is speaking at this moment. He is one of the persons in charge of this observatory. He is 50 years old this year, and it has been nearly 3 days since the Proxima Centauri fleet first appeared 3 days ago. He hadn't closed his eyes, tired and old. He really couldn't bear the shouting and excitement of the young people. In fact, in the past 3 days, ground-based observatories around the world have been rechecking the observation data of the past 2 months. This observation data is a spherical area with a radius of 20 billion kilometers centered on the Earth. If even one detail is overlooked, then this means that there are astronomically huge data that need to be checked and verified. Therefore, the staff in almost every observatory is operating at the highest intensity, because they all know that this matter may be related to the future of the Earth, and it cannot be sloppy at all. And to be able to have such data, we must also thank the Zerg swarm for not being interested in the observatory, and the Xinjiang fleet successfully defeated the Zerg swarm a few months ago. Otherwise, among other things, this Gemini observatory is located. The North Station Observatory would not have survived. The young man named Joey attracted everyone's attention, but after being reprimanded by his own station master, he still straightened his expression, and still couldn't hide his excitement. It's a major discovery. We compared it with the previous information given by the fleet. The space and gravitational fluctuation parameters of the suspected Proxima Centauri 12-sided cone-shaped spacecraft jumping to the vicinity of the Earth, in the direction away from the Proxima Centauri system, at a position about 17.6 billion kilometers away from our Earth, a group of almost identical. It's just a larger transition phenomenon of the gravitational fluctuation data, and it points to our Earth. As soon as these words came out, there was an uproar in the audience. Ronald, who was sitting in his seat, even stood up from his seat. All of a sudden the young man was excited about the great discovery, but the first thing Ronald thought of was the horror of this matter. No, if it's true, it's not even scary, but totally bad news at this moment. The Gemini Observatory in Chile entered a more intense operation, and from here, a large amount of information flew out like snowflakes and flowed to the observatories in operation all over the world for multi-party correction of information and confirm as early as January 1st. After Proxima Centauri's dodecahedral cone-shaped spacecraft first appeared in the outer space of the Earth's moon, the fleet has cooperated with a scientific research center on the ground to trace how it appeared. Although SURAN's monitoring circles in Jupiter's orbit and Kuiper belt are actually not enough for comprehensive monitoring because of the large area, but his main defense is in the direction of Proxima Centauri. Therefore, while contacting the Proxima Centauri fleet, SURAN also traced its source. The answer is actually very simple. It is the transition-only jumps can directly skip Jupiter's orbit and the Kuiper belt. SURAN has already guessed this point, but with the fleet's ability, if the other party makes a transition, especially if the landing point is near the Earth, the fleet can definitely detect the relevant data before the transition channel is completely open. The wormhole jump is essentially a hyperspace jump technology based on string theory. At such a short distance, the gravitational fluctuations caused by a jump should be like falling into the calm and waveless water for the fleet. A small rock, the fleet that is always on guard must be able to find it, but in fact, the fleet did not find it in the later confirmation. This dodecahedral cone-shaped spacecraft seemed to use some unique technology to reduce the impact of the transition to a very low position, and relying on the influence of the large celestial body itself on the gravitational force. This made the fleet ignore this jump for a while, and the dodecahedral conical spaceship was not big. All these things caused the dodecahedral conical spaceship to cause a strange situation as if it appeared suddenly. Of course, the reason for this was excavated by the fleet later that day, and the gravitational changes left by the jump of the dodecahedral cone-shaped spacecraft were recorded in detail, and then handed over to various countries and observatories. Based on this, compare whether there is the same transition form in the space outside the Earth. Recently, from the sudden visit of this dodecahedron-shaped spacecraft, it can be judged that the transition technology of the Proxima star fleet is quite mature and concealed, even on the current Xinjiang fleet. For this reason, fleet and Earth have to be vigilant, and now, through data comparison and recalibration over and over again, each observatory finally confirmed one thing: there's nothing wrong with the discovery by the Gemini Observatory in Chile about 4 days ago, at a distance of 17 billion kilometers from the Earth, at a position completely opposite to the orbit of Proxima Centauri. There were traces of a large-scale fleet jump, although this time the jump was hidden under the influence of a giant gaseous planet. However, it was still found out, and compared with the transition data parameters and spectral changes obtained before, it is almost confirmed that this is the Proxima Centauri fleet. But on a larger scale, after the news was fully confirmed, it was immediately passed on from the observatories and scientific research departments at all levels to the senior management of the United Earth United Front, and it was even passed on to SURAN, the supreme commander of the Xinjiang fleet. 4 days, 17 billion kilometers. Li Yilin also saw the news at the first time, and said, "This should be the main fleet of Proxima Centauri, and not the ghost ship fleet." SURAN's face was sinking like water, but his tone was extremely stable. He said, "This should be the main force of the Proxima star fleet. But this is not the most critical question. The most important question is, where's the Proxima Centauri fleet now?" Chapter 123. What in number 039's wrong? On the Earth, people use mobile phones to make calls, and wireless networks to send QQ and WhatsApp messages. It seems that they are absolutely timely. Only when transferring files, They need to wait due to network speed and other issues. However, this does not mean that this is really real-time human-to-human communication. Is the signal running, and the essence of the signal is electromagnetic waves. The transmission speed of electromagnetic wave signals is the speed of light. In the face of the speed of light, the distance on the Earth is very small. Even if it is a call separated by an ocean, it is as if they are communicating face-to-face without delay, and the time it takes for a little bit of electromagnetic wave signal to run is not even felt by the fragile receptors of human beings. However, at the scale of the starry sky, it does not work. It takes a whole year for things that happen 1 light year away to come to the Earth with information and be observed by people. In other words, if 2 people talk on the phone a light year apart, and the 2 people speak at the same time, then both parties on the call have to wait for a year to hear what the other party said, and when they hear the reply again, then it will take another year, unless quantum or hyperspace communication technology is used, and this technology may be applied to the transmission of information between the 2 parties between the stars, but it is difficult to apply it to the detection of space. And because of this, although the current fleet has also mastered certain quantum communication technology, it cannot be applied to the exploration of interstellar space. Therefore, the astronomical observation and investigation of the Earth will also be greatly restricted. This jump wave was discovered 17 billion light-years away, and the information feedback was received 4 days ago, that is, the last day of the previous year, the day before the first spacecraft of Proxima Centauri appeared. Of course, here we have to take into account the concept of space we just mentioned. It takes at least 14 to 15 days for light to carry information across the 17 billion light-years to the Earth. That is to say, Proxima Centauri appeared in the outer ring space of the solar system at least 18 days ago. They have already arrived by leap, and when the various observatories submitted the data, they had already checked to make sure that they were not the fleet of ghost ships that entered the solar system from the direction of the Proxima Centauri. Based on all the above, the biggest problem right now is, where's this Proxima Centauri fleet now? They have already arrived in the outer space of the solar system 18 days ago, and these 18 days have not disturbed any monitoring network under the outer space fleet. So they may appear anywhere. Sue Ran only felt a cold chill rise up her back. Or time is too short. He only has room to deploy a defense line between the Earth and the Moon, and he can barely take care of a little bit in outer space. But if you really want to spread your eyes all over the solar system, it won't be possible for a few years or even decades, because the area is too large and there are various stars, and you have to turn the space into an iron bucket. That's not something that can be easily done at all. Fortunately, this feeling of coldness was soon completely dispelled by Sue Ran. He took a deep breath and said, "Convey to all countries and observatories, I hope they can continue to search based on this discovery, whether they can or not, try to find traces of them. The Proxima Centauri fleet is very careful, at least according to the current feedback information. According to the transition, 17 billion light-years away from the Earth is their last transition, because a little closer is the region of the solar system. It is obvious, they are deliberately hiding themselves, and as long as they want to hide and enter a silent state, it is almost impossible to find them with a pure telescope-like observation level of the Earth. But Sue Ran will not give up any of them details, even if it would be nearly impossible to find out by observation going forward. To search for where they came from, the far-end transition information did not even reach the Earth while running on the road, and their whereabouts could not be found any further. But this information is not useless. Proxima Centauri is making peace on the surface, but it is secretly moving a large-scale fleet, even making a large circle, and cautiously entering the surrounding areas of the solar system. The purpose of this is almost self-evident. The atmosphere on the bridge is not bad, because the strength of the fleet and the calmness of His Excellency Commander are taken seriously by everyone at this time. Li Yilin said, "Your Excellency, the Russian Federation, China, the United States and other major powers and large survivor forces all hope to hold an emergency global joint meeting." Hoping to, Sue Ran said, "I know, turn on the remote conference mode, I will go in a few minutes later." Has the information been sent to Old Kiao and Lin Yuandong? I want to connect to the communication. Li Yilin nodded and immediately responded, but Sue Ran began to operate, and connected the 2 battle group commanders of the 3rd and 4th battle groups of Yunshen, which were in Jupiter's orbit. There is no picture, only sound. There was also a slight change in Lin Yuandong's voice, and he was a little nervous. He said, "Is it possible that this is a cautious move by the Proxima Centauri fleet? Just like we are cautious about them, they just keep a hand to guard against us." This logic makes sense. Sue Ran also thought of this at the first time. After all, Judging from the situation of the previous 3 days, the Proxima Centauri fleet is quite cooperative, and judging from the cautiousness of alien civilizations, they are also on guard. Landing on Earth is not impossible, so, Su-Ran said coldly, well, we can also understand it this way, but I want you to be ready to fight at any time. In the past 3 days, we have fully scanned the 11 spaceships in the Proxima Ghost Ship fleet and accumulated a large number of spaceships. The important data of the enemy ships, although it is not considered to know yourself and the enemy, but I hope that once the war starts, you can eat this fleet of ghost ships in the shortest time. Lin Yuan and Qiao Xiangjun, who are on the 2 flagships far away in Jupiter's orbit, shuddered slightly when they heard Su-Ran's cold and stern voice, and said in unison, "Got it. Your Excellency, Commander." Su-Ran immediately cut off the communication. He planned to quickly connect to the global joint meeting, but he was silent for a while. But he got in touch with the Spore Life still in the ground laboratory. The representative sent by Spore Life is still Su-Ran's old acquaintance Liu Tingting. She has almost no expression on her face. As a partner of civilization, Su-Ran has always shared news about the Proxima fleet with him. Therefore, at this time, they also knew the situation. Su-Ran asked straight to the point, "What do you think?" If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 124 Conclusion. Liu Tingting, the host of the Spore Life, did not answer immediately, but glanced at Su-Ran, and asked with a half-smile, "What do you think we will think?" Su-Ran didn't say anything, just stared at the Spore Life in the screen. This trick is very useful for Spore Life. Seeing that Su-Ran didn't speak, Liu Tingting could only sigh, and said, "Don't you already have a judgment? If it is true that the little guy from Proxima Centauri did something elusive before, but now, what should I judge?" Su-Ran really couldn't figure it out. He was not the alien boss that Spore Life thought. He didn't have so much knowledge and racial experience. What Spore Life could tell, he might not be able to see it. That's why he took the initiative to ask Spore at this time cause of life. But at this moment, hearing the feedback from the Spore Life, Su-Ran realized the Spore Life has come to a conclusion. Previously, on New Year's Day, Su-Ran asked about the attitude of the Spore Life. Although Liu Tingting refused to admit defeat, she obviously kept a wait-and-see attitude towards the behavior of the neighboring star fleet. There are already definite conclusions. They came to their final conclusion when they learned that Proxima had cleverly concealed a fleet. It's just that, as always, they will not speak out easily, but are testing themselves in reverse. Spore Life has always believed in Su-Ran's identity as a boss of alien civilization, and has been trying to find out the origin of Su-Ran, a boss of alien civilization. But Su-Ran didn't know anything, so of course it was impossible to say anything. But his expression sank, and he said, "Since we are cooperating, I should see if you are sincere." Liu Tingting showed a thoughtful expression when she heard the words, but this expression only lasted for less than a second. Because the Spore Life is a group thinking mode, and there is no need for external expressions to show, this is pretending. Seeing this guy pretending to ponder, Su-Ran also remained silent. He knew it would be most useful to do so. Sure enough, Su-Ran was silent for half a minute, and Liu Tingting, who had been trying hard to ponder, seemed to have come up with the answer, and said with a smile, "Are you really going to continue wasting time with us? They seem to be much better than your current fleet. Let's attack first, but we really won't be able to fight, although we choose you to bet that you will not betray, but if we are really wiped out with you, then we will both lose blood." This is the answer Su-Ran would like to ask, how the Spore Life came to this conclusion, but he knew that this was not something he could ask. Once he asked, the Spore Life might turn back immediately, because the premise of all the cooperation with the Spore Life is that Su-Ran is a down-and-out boss, a potential stock that they can't afford to mess with at the same level as them. This image cannot be broken. Su-Ran gave Liu Tingting a cold look, without saying a word, immediately cut off the communication with Liu Tingting, glanced at Li Yilin, who had been waiting for a long time, and quickly connected to the virtual venue of the emergency meeting. The virtual venue has already exploded. The various countries and survivors are divided into several factions. They all put forward their own views and opinions, and it is difficult to agree with others. They were hiding evil intentions, and even advocated immediate global surrender. While others muttered, "Why isn't your excellency here yet? In short, when Su-Ran entered the virtual meeting place, it was completely in a state of chaos. The leaders of a small number of countries and survivors who are not too large and not too powerful even stood up excitedly, wanting to express their opinions. This situation surprised Su-Ran. It was absolutely rare for these leaders to be like a vegetable market. However, seeing such a situation, Su-Ran, who entered the venue, did not speak immediately, but watched the scene silently, wanting to hear what everyone was talking about. And because of the confusion, almost no one immediately noticed that the commander of the Xinjiang fleet, whom everyone was waiting for, had quietly entered the virtual meeting place. Judging from the Spore Life's probing, rhetorical questions, etc., their judgments don't seem to be deceiving, and the previous cooperation intentions are basically confirmed to be true. But Su-Ran still can't fully believe in an alien race, especially for the Spore Life. Most of the time, he couldn't tell what the group was thinking. Therefore, Su-Ran had to consider the possibility that the Spore Life was pushing himself into the fire pit. Even though the possibility was very small from the current situation, Su-Ran was listening silently. Although the virtual venue is as noisy as a vegetable market, it was undeniable that those who could appear in this venue at this time of year were all absolute figures, and their judgments and thinking had their reasons. He has his reasons for saying that war must be fought, and his logic for saying that this is a prelude to peace. He even said that he must surrender, and his analysis is logical. As Su-Ran listened, she conceived the reasons for her refutation in her mind and checked each other. The Proxima fleet is here for war, and the Hidden Fleet is hiding evil intentions to assassinate the Earth. Is this correct? It doesn't sound like a problem. After all, the Proxima fleet hides the main fleet, which is undoubtedly more effective than the already broken Ghost Ship fleet. But, in this case, the Proxima Centauri fleet wants to swallow the Earth. Why not directly attack people first, and launch an attack directly? After all, when the first dodecahedral cone-shaped spaceship appeared, even the fleet couldn't find it, and since it didn't appear, the fleet couldn't even spot the main fleet of Proxima Centauri, which approached the solar system as early as 18 days ago. If the Proxima fleet wants to eat the Earth, wouldn't it be fine to sneak attack without snoring? So, does the Proxima fleet really want to ask for peace? Hiding the main fleet is just for prudence? This logic also seems to make sense. Because they don't want to go to war with the Earth, but are worried that the Earth will attack them in turn, the Proxima fleet only puts the Ghost Ship fleet on the bright side. After all, with the swarm in a weak state, even if Su-Ran hadn't been beaten hard, this broken fleet of ghost ships was enough to deal with it. The main fleet of Proxima Centauri was hidden to prevent the Earth from biting back, and it also showed that the Proxima Centauri fleet was unwilling to expose its own fleet. Habits. This can be matched with a record of the swarm. So, is it really a peace deal? No, wrong. There is a problem here. Something wrong. There is a huge loophole here, a loophole that should have been conspicuous but was quietly hidden. Behind this loophole is the true intention of the Proxima fleet at this moment. Su-Ran thought of it. His pupils contracted suddenly. Chapter 125 Decision. Everyone, stop. Su-Ran took a deep breath, and immediately used his highest authority in the virtual venue opened by the fleet to speak directly, resounding through the audience with a rather loud volume. The loud sound made everyone stop, instinctively looking this way. Being abruptly interrupted, some people even showed a little displeasure on their faces. However, when they turned their heads and saw who the person who interrupted them was, those displeasure expressions were like it had never appeared before, and it quickly faded away, becoming a little excited and looking forward to it. Your Excellency, Commander, it's Mr. Su, you're finally here. Your Excellency, Commander, I don't know what conclusion you have drawn. How should we deal with the Proxima Centauri fleet? I think the peace negotiation is the most important thing. No, we should go to war. The Proxima fleet is a threat. Many people are excitedly asking questions and expressing their opinions. It doesn't feel like asking, but more like hoping to persuade Su-Ran, the commander of the Xinjiang fleet. Of course, Su-Ran knew that they just wanted to convince themselves all the people present here are big figures and high-level people. They have more confidence than anyone else. Even if they are survivors from small countries, they may not be strong enough for their own country, but they are still very confident in themselves. They believe in their own judgment and do not. I hope that Su-Ran can also believe in his own judgment, because the Xinjiang fleet is currently the most powerful force on Earth, and it is precisely because of the existence of the Xinjiang fleet and the circumplanetary defense system that they have the ability to talk to the Proxima fleet. The possibility of talking also gives them the opportunity to think about whether it is peace or war. Su-Ran noticed that Uaksha's top officials had been watching him as early as when Su-Ran entered the venue. He and some big shots had noticed Suran. These people did not participate in the lively discussion. They saw Suran come in and noticed that Suran didn't speak, and they didn't tell anyone. Just watching, waiting for the moment when Suran spoke, and now, this moment, has come in this meeting place where people from the highest level of the earth gathered. Suran slowly stood up under the eyes of these big shots, looked around, and said in a deep voice, "I represent the Xinjiang fleet, decided to fight and expel the Proxima fleet." As soon as these words came out, there was an uproar in the audience, but the uproar did not last long. After a few seconds, everyone calmed down. Everyone looked at me and I looked at you. A representative of the main vote said, "Why are we going to war with the Proxima Centauri fleet? Commander, what do you say? It's very firm. Is there any definite information?" "No." Suran responded quite quickly, as if he hadn't thought about it at all, and said, "Since New Year's Day, the Xinjiang fleet has been sharing information with you in terms of comparing the adjacent star fleet. You know, I know it, and you all know it, and none of us knows more than the other. However, just knowing this information is enough. It is enough to let us understand that the Proxima Centauri fleet is not here to make peace with us. They appear not only to destroy the swarms on the Earth, but also to wipe out the human beings on the Earth." When Suran came to this conclusion, most of the people in the field fell into silence instead. After all, this is not a real vegetable market, nor is it really a group of shrews scolding. When Suran said this, they were willing to believe that the existence who currently holds the most powerful human beings in the entire Earth and even the entire solar system, the commander of the Xinjiang fleet, definitely had a reason for what he said. A moment later, the president of the Russian Federation asked in a deep voice, "Then why did they do this? Why they do this? I don't know. They have too many reasons not to exchange fire with humans, but there are also too many reasons that they must fight humans endlessly, and the reasons for these two aspects have almost been mentioned before. And it was the movement of the Proxima Star Fleet that made me come to the conclusion of a battle." Suran said slowly, "Actually, I have been listening to it for a long time just now, and I have almost heard the thoughts of everyone present. In fact, some people have even stated the reasons for my judgment. The behavior of the Proxima Centauri fleet is very strange. It first sent a spaceship to approach quietly, and then showed its figure openly, and openly asked us to explore their ghost ship fleet. All this, it seems to be completely expressing sincerity, expressing the sincerity of the Proxima fleet in wishing to maintain peace with the Earth and mankind. However, as you can see, just today, we made a major discovery. We found the main fleet of the Proxima Centauri at a position 17 billion light-years away from the Earth. Of course, this can also be explained as the Proxima Centauri fleet. It is to beware of human beings, just like we are beware of them. This main fleet that has quietly come to the vicinity of the solar system is a hidden backup, lest we humans will go back on our word. A leader of a small survivor force asked, "Isn't this right? Isn't this the sincerity of the Proxima Centauri fleet wanting to make peace with us?" "No." At this time, it was Lao Mei's head of state who spoke. He nodded slightly to Suran, indicating that at this moment, he understood the real reason why Suran thought that Proxima Centauri came to the solar system with malice. Here the problem is that the main fleet of Proxima Centauri did not come to the solar system quietly at all. That's right. Suran took the head of state's words, and said, "It seems that the Proxima Centauri fleet came quietly, but this main fleet is for us to discover. It seems very hidden to find them. I'm hiding my actions, this." In the virtual meeting place, some people showed puzzled expressions, and some people finally began to change their colors at this moment. But at this moment, it was the old head of state who took the place of Suran to give the next answer. It seemed that he was a little flamboyant. "Why did you let us find out? This problem can be solved these days. All our confusion. The first dodecahedral cone-shaped spacecraft to appear in space outside the moon, and its sudden appearance at that time caused a global shock. We took it as a provocation and a demonstration, but then, it seems that there is no problem with the Proxima Centauri fleet making peace with us. But in fact, there is a key problem here. If the Proxima Centauri fleet just wants to make peace, they only need to enter the solar system in a serious manner. It just needs to be successfully discovered by us. In this way, we will be less vigilant against them, and it will be easier to accept their peace talks needs and be less suspicious." However, they did not choose such a more secure behavior. Instead, they appeared to be very radical. Chapter 126 Yang Mao. In the past 3 days, I thought, why is Proxima Centauri so aggressive? This question may be something that the analysis and advisory teams of various countries have been thinking about. Maybe it is because of differences in civilizations, and we understand their differences. Behavior, perhaps because they are also very afraid of human beings' armed forces, so they want to show that they can come to outer space without anyone noticing, so as to ensure that the Earth will not dare to start a war with them rashly. These speculations have their own reasons plausible. However, they all have their problems. Until now, it has a real answer, that is, the reason why the dodecahedral cone-shaped spaceship of the Proxima Star fleet is superfluous is to allow us to find traces of their main fleet. The head of state of the United States lowered his eyes. I am not a scholar, let alone a scientist. I have also seen the transition code of Proxima Centauri that was deciphered by the Xinging fleet before, that is, the space and gravitational changes caused by its transition. We learned from the team in our country that it is almost impossible to detect this level of transition traces, especially under the interference of the two large stars, the Moon and the Earth, with the current scientific and technological capabilities of the Earth. Fortunately, we have the Xinging fleet. The sudden appearance of the dodecahedron-shaped spacecraft on the Proxima Centauri caused a global shock. Su Ran, Your Excellency Commander, the first order you gave at that time was to find out how the Proxima Centauri spacecraft appeared, right? Su Ran nodded and said, that's right. The head of state of the United States said, any vigilant country or civilization will show full vigilance in the face of enemies that suddenly appear near its own territory. This is the instinct of creatures to protect their own safety. And Proxima Centauri, the reason why the dodecahedron conical spacecraft did that was because they wanted the Earth to get their transition data, so that they could be compared to the large-scale transition that occurred at least 18 days ago at a distance of 17 billion kilometers from the Earth. This is the real purpose of their seemingly aggressive behavior. They just hope that we can discover that their main fleet has quietly arrived near the solar system, and may even be hiding near the Earth now, and because of this, the quiet here can even be described as open and above board. The big man's words were about to end, and someone frowned and asked, why do they do this? What's the point of doing this for them? What if we don't have enough technology to discover it at all? This is the caution of the Proxima Centauri fleet. This time, Su Ran, who spoke, took a deep breath and said slowly, if we can find the Proxima Centauri main fleet according to the information they gave, we can see the real trap first, which is also the real strategic purpose and conspiracy of Proxima Centauri. If we can't even process and grasp the information they give us, then we can't even step into their trap. I have no qualifications anymore. That is completely nothing, fish and meat at the mercy of others. Su Ran's words may be a bit heavy. The leader of the South African survivors, Jerome, who is known as the Lion in the Wilderness, thought for a while, and said slowly, Your Excellency Commander, I don't quite understand. What does this mean? The meaning is very simple, that is, from the very beginning, the Proxima Centauri fleet had no intention of peacefully resolving problems with the Earth. Su Ran said, I just said that Proxima Centauri let us find their main fleet, which in itself into another trap. I don't know if you still remember the record of the battle between the Swarm and the Proxima fleet that I shared with you. In that battle, the ghost ship fleet of Proxima kept biting the Swarm's fleet, making the Swarm he felt that he had room for countermeasures and turning around, and even made the Swarm think of encircling and eating the Proxima fleet, but in the end, it was the Proxima fleet that quietly completed their encirclement, completely killing the insects with one bite. The three fleets of the group swallowed it in one gulp, and now, although I don't have conclusive evidence, but I can be sure that this is still almost the same tactic. The dodecahedral spaceship and the ghost ship fleet attract attention, and follow the dodecahedral spaceship and ghost ship fleet find the main force of the Proxima fleet. It's another trap dug by Proxima Centauri. They want us to focus on this main fleet, so that we feel that we have control of the situation and have the ability to further game with them. And if our guess is correct, this so-called main force is probably not the main force of the Proxima Centauri fleet at all, and their main force may not have reached the solar system. That's why they have to lay out this many traps, making us feel that no matter what, whether it's war or peace, the risk will not be that great. Thus, the pace of our human beings, the pace of the Xinging fleet, is dragged down on the Earth, and in this way, just waiting for their real main forces to encircle, they will be able to securely and cautiously use the smallest losses to obtain the greatest results, and swallow the entire Earth and the Xinging fleet in one bite, so that there will be no future troubles, because, only when we feel that we have the initiative, that we have understood all the intentions of the Proxima fleet, and have certain advantages, will we not run away or disappear from the gaze of Proxima Centauri. The script, quietly on Earth, waiting to die. Moreover, because of the information time difference caused by the scale of the starry sky, at least 18 days have passed since the Proxima Centauri fleet began to deploy, and the Proxima Centauri fleet helped us find their transition traces 17 billion kilometers away at this time. I'm afraid it also means that they are convinced that even if we don't fall into their trap and think that we have mastered all the movements of the Proxima Centauri fleet, we won't have the opportunity to escape their gaze. They haven't launched an attack yet. It may be that their real main force is not really close enough to the Earth, or their layout is not perfect enough. And they cannot guarantee to eat us with the smallest loss, but the Proxima fleet uses information. This trap made by science, technology, and the physical laws of the macrocosm has almost succeeded, but this is a fact. So I said, from the very beginning, the purpose of the Proxima Centauri fleet was to swallow the swarm and humans. The current tactic is undoubtedly the safest way, and it is also the closest to the Proxima Centauri from the information we have obtained from the swarm. Patterns of fleet behavior. This is a conspiracy. It's also a complete Yang conspiracy. Su Ran's words were finished. But in the entire virtual meeting place, there was an audible silence. When people look at me and I look at you, they feel a chill rise from their hearts, and they almost instinctively look around themselves, as if the Proxima Centauri warships have surrounded the Earth into an iron barrel. The main fleet 17 billion kilometers away and the fleet of ghost ships docked in Jupiter's orbit are all bait to keep humans. It's like a person eating candy. He eats candy in a strange way. He has to open his mouth to the maximum and put the whole candy in his mouth, and then bite down to ensure that the candy will be completely eaten into your own mouth, for your own taste. This is not conspiracy. It is to seek a planet and a civilization. Damn it. Jerome cursed at this time. Huaxa's top official asked, "So, Commander, do you think the Proxima Star Fleet really has the ability to eat us in one bite?" Chapter 127 Voting. Huaxa's top official asked this question because he thought that Su Ran might have a reliable judgment, but Su Ran shook his head and said, "I don't know either. But the current situation is like this. We are already in this circle. Please be prepared. No matter what, a big battle is inevitable, and surrender is not possibly. Have the Spore Life and the Swarm ever accepted the surrender of even one human being?" Su Ran paused for a moment, and saw that many heads of state and leaders who advocated surrender before fighting showed contemplation. He said, "At present, there are only two ways to go. If you win, you will survive. If you lose, you will collapse. I hope that all countries will cooperate with the Xinjiang fleet to maintain the strong shield of the planetary defense system around the Earth, and spare no effort to fight against extraterrestrial civilizations. At the same time, I also hope that all countries and survivors can start preparing escape plans from now on. Going in the worst direction, we might." Speaking of this, Su Ran didn't say any more. No one in the field was a fool, and they all understood Su Ran's meaning. Many people expressed their opinions one after another. Jerome shook his chest and said, "Your Excellency, our South African survivor base is willing to advance and retreat with the Xinjiang fleet and mankind to defend our homeland." Jerome can be said to be the representative of the radical faction and the blood faction. As soon as he found out, many leaders of the newly promoted survivor forces spoke up one after another, willing to fight. These people started their careers by fighting and rose up in the end of the day. They are not afraid of fighting, and they are more willing to express their monstrous fighting intentions. And there are also many people who are deep in thought, thinking about themselves instead. Major powers have expressed their willingness to fight with all their might. Speaking of this, the situation couldn't be clearer. This battle is inevitable. Even if they start fleeing the whole planet now, they will definitely be attacked by the Proxima fleet. The layout has reached this point, and the part of the conspiracy can be said to be over. If humans are not aware of it, of course this is still a conspiracy and a trap, but if humans are aware of it, this is nothing more than a conspiracy. That main fleet may be a bait, but it is probably not a random garbage force that can cause gravitational fluctuations and space transformations of that scale. The Proxima Centauri fleet is going to swallow up the entire Earth in one go, and the intention of exterminating the human race is so clear. I'll give you 1 day's arrangement. Su Ran waited for a while before saying, "At this time tomorrow, our Xinjiang fleet will start to take action, so there's not much time left for everyone." Su Ran slowly stood up from his seat and said, "Then, that's all for today. You can continue to discuss the support and defense plan on the ground. I will withdraw first." After saying these words, Su Ran quickly went offline, and his figure blurred and disappeared completely at random. Everyone also expressed their understanding of this. The Xinjiang fleet is currently the most powerful military force on Earth. The fleet is the enemy, and as a non-human species for the Proxima fleet, they are the first to be killed by the Proxima fleet. Of course, planning and deployment must be done in advance. Suran has to wait for a day. On the one hand, it is indeed time for everyone to arrange and prepare. On the other hand, he is still waiting for his own aircraft carrier Type I to be successfully built, waiting for tomorrow. That ship will cost a lot of resource points. The behemoth created is about to be born. Anyway, it has been a step too late, and this day doesn't matter whether or not there is an aircraft carrier Type I. In Suran's mind, it should still be very important. After he left the virtual meeting place of the global conference, he immediately summoned the senior management of the fleet to hold an emergency meeting, and Qiao Xiangjun and Lin Yuandong, who were far away in the orbit of Jupiter, also attended the meeting. But because of the limitation of the quantum communication capabilities currently possessed by the fleet, however, they can only access the meeting in the same way as making a phone call. Suran made a long story short, threw out all his own situation and analysis, and said, "Not much nonsense. Now, our Xinjiang fleet has two choices. The first is to use soldiers to cover the water and soil. The second is to evacuate the Earth." Judging from the current situation, the Proxima Centauri fleet seems to be very confident that it will eat the Earth and eat us. If we want to fight, we must face great risks. Of course, at this stage, the Proxima Centauri fleet's plans should have become more than half under the circumstances. If we want to abandon the Earth, it is impossible for the entire fleet to travel across the starry sky without paying a price. This is the current situation, and I want to hear your opinions upon hearing this. Lin Yuandong was the first to express his opinion. "Your Excellency Commander, your order is our opinion." Suran almost spat out a mouthful of old blood. Many people also looked sideways, but today, Lin Yuandong didn't even have a virtual influence, so no one could see the earnest expression on Lin Yuandong's face at this time. However, when Lin Yuandong said this, many people also spoke up one after another, expressing their willingness to obey all the opinions of the commander. The corner of Suran's mouth twitched, but at this time, Yuan Lichen said, "Everyone, don't get it wrong. Your Excellency Commander, in my opinion, really wants to see and hear everyone's thoughts, and unified, because judging from the current situation, no matter whether it is retreating or fighting, I am afraid, the fleet will pay sacrifices, and the victory or defeat of the war depends on the equipment and strength, but it also depends on the thoughts of the participants." Hearing what Yuan Lichen said, many people showed some embarrassment, feeling that they followed Lin Yuandong in the wrong way. But what everyone didn't see was that Lin Yuandong was showing a ray of smile. At this time of flattering, only the first person slapped, and the others who followed suit were fart eaters. But at this time, Qiao Xiangjun said, "I want to fight. Soldiers come to cover the water and soil. The Earth is the hometown and hometown of all of us here. It's one thing whether we can fight or not, but we can't fight without fighting." Walk. After Qiao Xiangjun said these words, many people echoed them one after another. It can be said that they became the majority faction almost instantly. "Fight. We dare to fight if Proxima Centauri comes. My hometown is here, and we will never take a step back. We will kick all those bastards of Proxima Centauri back. They have good intentions. But now we have seen it thoroughly. If we really fight, whoever wins and who loses, no matter what. For sure the Xinjiang fleet has never been defeated since Ice City. Russian, have not been able to experience the previous battles, but I don't want to see the Xinjiang fleet running away. When I first came to the city, then I, Russian, will not be ashamed." Live, Su Yaoang, a burly female warrior, said in a deep voice, "That's right, our hometown is here, how can we leave?" Chapter 128 Preparations for Battle. "That's right, homeland, hometown, how can we leave? How can I go? How can I go?" Suran looked over and saw that beside the long virtual conference table, many high-level executives of the fleet and commanders of warships spoke in a trembling voice, their eyes gleaming with brilliance. There are also some introverts who never speak, but they sit in the middle of those excited people. Look around, and the meaning in their eyes is the same. "Home is here, how can I leave?" Suran looked at this scene, took a breath slowly, and said, "It seems that everyone's meaning is also very clear. In fact, from the perspective of cosmic civilization, nostalgia for a planet with more symbolic meaning than actual meaning. This is not advisable in China. But, it is us human beings, we are not spore life, we are not swarms, we are not the kind of species born with the concept of I am the population. In our civilization, we put more emphasis on individuals, families and homes, which may appear unadvanced, which may appear ignorant, and may even cause many unnecessary disputes and troubles, but it is a symbol of the existence of human civilization. Human beings are human beings. We were born on this planet and grew up on this planet. Now that we are fighting and not fighting, how can we retreat, go and bang, homeland, hometown, relatives and friends? This is what we are born to pursue as human beings for the rest of our lives. This is the anchor for us to stay outside and not forget the route. Now, as the Commander-in-Chief of the Xinjiang Fleet, I issue an order to ask the combat units of the Xinjiang Fleet at all levels to prepare for the battle. Qiao Xiangjun, Lin Yuandong and Qiao Xiangjun were stunned, and immediately responded, "Your Excellency, Commander, tomorrow at 1611 Kyoto time, I want the 3rd and 4th battle groups of your department to launch an attack on the neighboring Star Ghost ship fleet, and return immediately after wiping out all the enemy troops. Receive, Tong Maya Okyu. Tomorrow, I want your 2nd and 5th battle groups to set off from the Earth with my 1st Cloud City battle group at 1615, and travel across the starry sky to pretend to flee. I want to force out Proxima Centauri. The mines, let them hit us. We have to find a way to lead the battle line to the near-moon orbit, where's the shortest Planck attack distance of the planetary defense system. We need to cooperate with our circumplanetary defense system to counterattack the Proxima Centauri fleet and wipe them out of the Earth." In the meeting room, there was a neat sound of received and response. Su Ran stood up slowly and said, "From now until tomorrow before the battle, all captains and persons in charge on the ground are requested to report supplies and check the operation of their warships. Punishment by law." Under Su Ran's gaze, all the people in the field were awe-inspiring, and they all took orders to go, and began to enter a tense state of alert and arrangement. Su Ran is not worried that the actions on the Earth will be noticed by Proxima Centauri. There are so many human beings on Earth. The Proxima Centauri fleet has come from afar and can be deployed in the starry sky. The hands are definitely not as deep as the Earth. At most, a few a detection device, such a thing, has almost no other use except to monitor the big movements of the Xinjiang fleet, and because of this, Su Ran can let go of the preparations he has to suffer from the starry sky and the real macroscopic war, and the Proxima Star fleet is also subject to the iron law of this universe. However, Su Ran kept Lin Yuandong and Qiao Xiangjun. Of course, if he said he stayed, it was just that the communication was not interrupted. Lin Yuandong said, "Starting this quantum device once will consume a lot of electricity." Qiao Xiangjun remained silent. Su Ran didn't say too much, but emphasized, "The two of you can be said to be alone, but you are also 2 of the 5 battle groups of the Xinjiang fleet, and it is likely to become the priority attack of the Proxima fleet target, no matter what. Be careful, be careful." "I understand." Qiao Xiangjun didn't know what to think of, and said in a faint voice, "I want to win, and I want to ensure that the comrades who die the fewest." Lin Yuandong still smiled and said, "Don't worry, Su Ran, you know how careful I am usually. I will only be more careful when I'm risking my life like this." Su Ran was silent for a while, and said, "If there is no order from me, how do you plan to deal with it?" Lin Yuandong chuckled, and said, "You must have thought that I would want to run away safely, right? No, you guessed wrong this time. I will definitely stay. I grew up on this blue planet, and my brothers and relatives lived and died here. My reason is here. How can I leave it?" These words made Su Ran fall into a moment of silence, but Lin Yuandong asked, "What about you? Brother Su, what do you think?" Su Ran shook her head and did not answer directly, but ended the meeting unilaterally. All the virtual scenes disappeared. Su Ran logged out of the fleet's internal system, and slowly stood up from the captain's seat of the Yunchang. The unnamed Yunchang of the 1st battle group is still lying between the sky and the Earth of Kyushu Island. Looking out from here, you can see the end of the island, the line between the sea and the sky, and the setting sun dyes the sky and the ground in the same color screen, so magnificent and beautiful. And on this island, the huge city has been built 1/3 of the way, and more than 200,000 people from all over the world gathered here. They want to witness the rise of this future city, and even experience a bright future. Su Ran's answer is actually very simple. He won't avoid a fight because this is his home. Isn't his original wish from rebirth to keep a pure land, and to welcome every day with relatives and friends in peace. As he said, human beings are neither spore life nor insect swarm. Human beings have rich emotions and even have many selfish thoughts and ideas. Perhaps in the future, human beings will grow up like spore life and insect swarm, which are more suitable for development race, but now, human beings are like this. If they want to go far enough without getting lost, and climb high enough without support, then they need their anchors. Su Ran looked at Yuan Kong's situation and slowly clenched his fists. In this battle, he will fight for his homeland he wants for thousands of years to come, and this place will become the largest and most advanced airport for human beings in the interstellar world. What's more, he needs to be able to easily sit in his own city and enjoy the afternoon sunshine, warm afternoon tea, and a group of trustworthy and reliable friends and comrades in arms. That is the future he yearns for, and this battle will be the beginning of his journey to this future. Kyushu Island, China, North America, the Russian Federation, Australia, South Africa, the whole world is working for the same purpose at this moment. Chapter 129 Proxima Centauri flashes. January 4, 1607, the orbit of Jupiter in the 3rd Combat Group of the Xinjiang Fleet, Qiao Xiangchen stood with his hands behind his back. Behind him, all the fighters on the bridge of the Red Pioneer were already in place, and just 5 minutes ago, they ended their third and last pre-sale self-inspection. At this moment, although this huge interstellar warship is still waiting silently from the outside, in fact, it has already started to run at full capacity, like a fully drawn bow and arrow. It will roar out at any time. The comm at this moment is just the last piece before the rainstorm. At this time, Lin Yuandong's communication came in and said, "Old Qiao, I'm Lin Yuandong, we're ready." Qiao Xiangchen squinted at Lin Yuandong, who appeared below the virtual screen of the bridge, and said, "You didn't report according to the regulations." Lin Yuandong chuckled and said, "Isn't communication important to convey information?" A twitch flashed across Qiao Xiangchen's face, but he had no time to argue with Lin Yuandong. His 3rd Fleet battle group was slowly raising its altitude. As time went by, they had already started to move towards the combat position. In the past day, he and Lin Yuandong had finalized a battle plan for the battlefield and conducted a comprehensive risk analysis with Su Ran and Xinjiang's ground command. At this moment, the Xinjiang fleet has already grasped most of the information on Proxima Centauri, the ghost ship fleet. In this way, the risk of Lin Yuandong and Qiao Xiangchen going to battle has almost been minimized, and at the same time, Earth the 1st and 2nd battle groups of the Xinjiang fleet are also slowly taking off. Su Ran's vehicle, the Yuncheng of the 1st battle group, was the last one to lift off. Looking up from his angle, one can see warships floating slowly in the sky, casting continuous shadows on the ground, while on the ground, there are also crowds of people, and a large number of ground personnel are retreating to a safer position further back. In coordination with the fleet's launch, numerous logistics and support staff of the Xinjiang fleet slowly raised their heads at this moment, looking at the sky from a distance, with an indescribable light in their eyes, nervousness but also anticipation and blessing. May the fleet triumph. 1611, lights up in Jupiter's orbit. The 3rd and 4th battle groups of the Xinjiang fleet from the Earth opened fire in unison, and the blazing light of death traveled through the cold and dark universe, becoming rays of light that flickered in the distance. The speeding fleet seemed like 2 shooting stars. The ghost ship fleet launched a counterattack at the first time. The 2 sides exchanged fierce fire in space, the light flickered, the huge warships bombarded each other, and the battle situation gradually expanded. Under the scale of the starry sky, the battle between battleships is no longer the old era. Naval battles confront each other, they can move as much as possible in space, and the mobility and even unique structure of their warships can become weapons. However, from a distance, this soul-stirring battle appears to be flickering and silent, just like a grand pantomime of sound and light, making people dazzled and fascinated as if to forget the danger involved. And not long after the exchange of fire here, Su Ran has also brought 3 battle groups up into the sky from the direction of the Earth, and came to the universe. From this position, Su Ran could not observe the battle taking place in the orbit of Jupiter at all, but he believed in the combination of Qiao Xiangchen and Lin Yuandong. When these 2 get together, there is nothing to say whether they run away or fight to the death. Therefore, at this moment, he also led his 3 combat groups to fly in another direction, posing as if he was going to jump into the leap after leaving the Earth and the Moon within a certain range. Although Su Ran's arrangement was reliable, the fleet that sent people to drag Proxima Centauri's ghost ship first ran away quickly, but this series of operations still seemed a bit fake. But Su Ran didn't care. The Proxima fleet dug a big hole for him, and he did the same. Did the Proxima fleet want to eat a fat man in one bite, and kill all human beings on Earth? Then if I want to run, there is no way you don't come out, no matter how fake I hit you. What if I really run away? What if I secretly plan to send away a group of real fugitives? Just like Su Ran has no choice in this battle, Proxima Centauri has no choice now, but must come to intercept the Xinjiang fleet. You told me that this battle must be fought. Well, then I will fight, but when to fight, you have to listen to me. Leaping out of the starry sky, Looking at the endless dark world, Su Ran's face sank like water, and ordered the entire fleet to be on alert, waiting for the moment when Proxima leaps out, 100,000 kilometers away, 200,000 kilometers away, 300,000 kilometers away. The starry sky was still silent, and the Proxima Centauri fleet didn't even show a shadow. As if they didn't notice that the fleet was about to leave the Earth and run away, Su Ran turned her head sideways and saw the moon slowly moving towards her at the far end of her field of vision. At this moment, it is 4 p.m. in Kyoto time and 5 p.m. in Japan time, and the moon is turning around half of the Earth and coming to this side reporting, "Commander, we are about to leave the range of the weapon system with the shortest range in our circumplanetary defense system." The crew below made a report. "Keep going," Su Ran said. Full speed. He pressed his hand on the armrest of the captain's seat, staring coldly ahead. His aircraft carrier Type I has been built, but he is not in a hurry to launch it immediately, but is wait for a good enough time. 400,000 kilometers away, reporting to your excellency, Commander. We have crossed the orbit of the moon, and we will arrive at the optimal transition position of our fleet in another 100,000 kilometers. The crew member couldn't finish his sentence. The sirens sounded suddenly, and the feedback from various warships and radar systems came here in an instant. Your Excellency, Commander, we found a large unknown warship approaching our fleet at high speed at a distance of 3 million kilometers. The enemy ship will make direct contact with our fleet in 6 minutes. Under analysis, it has been confirmed that this is the Proxima Centauri fleet, and its battleships are all dodecahedron-shaped spaceships. The total number, 236 ships. It's time to trace their origin. They are hidden in a meteorite belt and have been flying silently until now. Su Ran immediately raised his head. These reports echoed in his ears. Looking far away, even with his super eyesight endowed by his dark energy physique and the extremely wide field of vision in the cosmic environment, he could not see 3 million kilometers away. Enemy fleet, but the speed of the other parties running was too fast, and it didn't take long before it reached the point where it could be seen by the naked eye. Su Ran narrowed her eyes at the end of his field of vision. At the far end of the dark starry sky, a galaxy-like flash was shining brightly. That is, the flash of Proxima Centauri. Chapter 130. The Battle of Brilliance. The huge crystal-like dodecahedron-shaped spaceship is becoming clear in the field of vision. They are almost exactly the same as the Proxima Centauri spacecraft that appeared in outer space on New Year's Day. They are about 50 meters long and have 12 sides at this moment. They are separated far away in the starry sky, as if a crystal mine is shining brightly in the dark world. This piece of crystal-like spaceship is forming a hemisphere to attack the 3 Yunchang battle groups of the Xinjiang fleet, and the distance between the two sides is rapidly narrowing. Your Excellency, the enemy fleet has entered the best range of our fleet, Su Ran said in a deep voice. Fire. The Proxima fleet has been closing the distance at high speed but has not opened fire for a long time, while the warships of the Xinjiang fleet are all spouting anger at this moment. The main laser cannons of the 3 Yunchang pierce through the cold night sky. Like 3 bridges of light across the starry sky, rising from this part of the starry sky, and reaching the other end in the blink of an eye. At the same time, the electromagnetic guns of the 30 Enlightenment-class warships and 12 frigates fired one after another, and the heavy projectiles accelerated in the electromagnetic orbit, turning into crimson jets out of the muzzles in a silent roar. A series of missile bays were slowly opened, and missiles more than 10 meters long were launched from the battleship in anger. They lifted up vertically one by one, and the light of the tail flame was like the tail of a comet in space. Dazzlingly formed an overwhelming rain of missiles, and then slowly turned in mid-air, skimming over the icy black warships and flying towards the distant Proxima Star warship group. And under this missile group, there are more than 30 nuclear torpedoes are going through the sky, but the latter are the first to arrive, passing the missile group all the way, chasing the footsteps of the electromagnetic artillery projectiles that split the sky, galloping in the empty and dark boundless starry sky world. And under this speeding artillery fire, the 3 battle groups of the Xinjiang fleet and the cluster fleeing array are readjusting their positions. Tong Myoku's second battle group is pulled up to the upper right, while Huhuahu's second battle group is pulled up to the left. Shenzhen, the first battle group where Su Ran and Li Yilan belonged, began to fall back. The shield is raised, and the battleship is running at full power. 9 groups of small Sparrow drone battle groups were released from 3 Yunchang-class warships. They did not attack, but flew around the 3 battle groups of Yunchang, like soldiers guarding a beehive. In the battleships at all levels, personnel are running around, and the automated loading facilities have loaded the shells for the second round of strikes into the bomb bays. This moment, Xinjiang fleet, fully open fire, Behind the Zerg fleet, in space, the 4 groups of satellite attack groups of the planetary defense system have mobilized 2 groups, mainly the core laser satellites, and have also started shooting at fixed points and on the ground. On the ground of the Earth, the ground of the military area where the Xinjiang fort was located was trembling. And the gravel on the ground trembled as if fearing something. The huge fort that sank into the ground was rising from the ground inch by inch. And the 73-meter-long gun barrel slowly adjusted its angle, and then opened fire with a deafening bang. In the distance, someone stood on the vibrating ground and saw a line of fire passing through the air, piercing a shocking trajectory in the darkening cold sky, piercing through the clouds, and galloping unstoppably to the other side of space. And the same scene was staged in almost every corner of this hemisphere. A fan-like fort rose from the Earth, and roared into space under the operation of many operators. The fort penetrates the sky and the Earth, and the clouds and the sky are stirred into a weird mess, depicting the setting sun sinking into the eastern hemisphere world as an apocalyptic scene. A day ago, the news that the Proxima Centauri fleet arrived and the war was about to start was finally released around the world. At this moment, on the land of Asia, countless people are staring at the sky. They have understood what happened. Those wrathful howls are the roar of this planet. In the starry sky, the first round of bombardment failed. The Zerg fleet has 3 battle groups, 3 Yunchang-class warships, 12 frigates, and 30 Enlightenment-class warships. In terms of numbers, it is far behind the 236 spaceships of Proxima Centauri. It is comparable, but if you only talk about the strike volume of the Zerg fleet in one shot, it is enough to engulf the entire fleet of Proxima Centauri. But only 3 of Yunchang's main laser cannons pierced through the entire battlefield, and only 2 of them hit, destroying 2 dodecahedral conical spaceships on the spot under the high-powered main gun of the Yunchang-class battleship. The shield system and armor layer of the Proxima dodecahedron-shaped spacecraft were as fragile as paper, and were instantly engulfed and melted in the dazzling flash. However, other missile groups, torpedoes, and electromagnetic guns failed to bully the Proxima Centauri fleet because at the moment when the distance between the 2 sides was shortened to less than 30,000 kilometers and the Zerg fleet opened fire, more than 200 Proxima warships suddenly scattered like birds and beasts, and the 234 Proxima warships were divided into 5 groups. The 5 directions went around, and behind them, a nano-ocean was quickly thrown out, instead of them hitting the front of the Zerg fleet in the first round of fire, and the 5 Proxima fleet flew at high speed. Turning in space, using the compact hull and excellent performance, it completed 3 turns in less than 3 seconds, and the speed did not decrease at all, completely letting go of the first salvo of the Zerg fleet. The hulls of warships refracted dazzling flashes under the light of the stars, and continued to rush to the 3 battle groups of the Zerg fleet at high speed. On the front, the ocean front of nano-machines has been baptized by the artillery fire of the Zerg fleet. Countless missiles, torpedoes, and high-speed projectiles were detonated. A dazzling curtain of fire lit up in space, from top to bottom, from left to right, for thousands of meters in length and breadth, like a fire cloud spreading in space. But the astronomically dense nano-machines were not under a single blow. The entire army was annihilated, and a large number of nano-machines quickly passed through the fire cloud. They could no longer catch up with the speed of their own fleet, but they still scattered in the starry sky, becoming nano-trap that was extremely difficult to detect. And in front of these nano-machines, the Proxima Centauri fleet has already flew out, and the firelight from behind reflected on their crystal-like hulls and refracted each other, casting a shocking crimson on their figures in the starry sky. Wherever the Proxima Centauri fleet passed, there were brilliant and dazzling brilliance everywhere, as if it didn't look like a fleet was passing through, but the so-called gods came bathing in adoration. And at this moment, the Proxima fleet finally opened fire. At this moment, the 12 faces of the dodecahedral conical spaceships glow brightly, converging light and energy, and converging along the pyramids to point at the tip of the dodecahedral conical spaceships. Immediately afterwards, vertical and horizontal laser rays then roared out, dazzling the starry sky. P.S. Ask for a genuine copy, the recent subscription. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 131 7,000 meter warship! Exclamation mark. Qiao Xiangzhen's pupils were being illuminated by the flames in his gaze. A strange-shaped battleship at the far end was disintegrating into fragments, and flames were everywhere, exploding magnificently in the starry sky. It's a pity that there was no sound in this grand collapse. Like a silent pantomime, however, Qiao Xiangjun didn't have much time to appreciate this scene. After destroying the enemy ship, he quickly raised his eyes and slid his finger in the air, immediately switching the front view of the Red Vanguard to another position. They've already engaged a fleet of ghost ships in full force due to the huge advantage in information. They occupied the upper peak at the beginning of the battle, and quickly eliminated 5 of the 11 warships in the ghost ship fleet. But there are still 6 ships that are not so easy to solve. Knowing yourself and the enemy may not be able to defeat the enemy instantly. The remaining 6 battleships are now completely in a group state, with a huge battleship in the center with a length and width of 7,000 meters as the main body. And they are simultaneously facing the 2 battle groups of the Xinjiang fleet, Yuncheng, without losing the wind in the slightest. In this case, it is meaningless to fight skillfully, and the only option for both sides is to use strength to overcome strength. In fact, Qiao Xiangjun and Lin Yuandong's initial tactics were to deal with the largest battleship with a distance of 7,000 meters at the first moment of the attack, because the main guns and some systems of this battleship are currently the only ones that have not been mastered by the fleet. The electromagnetic gun array it possesses is also the most threatening in the previous analysis, but they didn't make it. The ghost ship fleet chose the tactic of abandoning the cart to save the commander, abandoning 5 secondary warships, and pulling up the 7,000-meter warship immediately, avoiding the most dangerous first round of attacks by the 3rd and 4th battle groups of the Xinjiang fleet. But a sneak attack failed in the first moment, and if you want to destroy this 7,000-meter warship, you can only attack from the front. It is worth mentioning that at the beginning of the battle, the dodecahedral cone-shaped spaceship of Proxima Centauri, which had been silent behind the ghost ship fleet, suddenly jumped into the transition channel and disappeared in the blink of an eye, as if it had no intention of joining the battle group here. Of course, at this moment, Qiao Xiangjun and Lin Yuandong had no time to care about that mere dodecahedron spaceship, because on the front, thousands of electromagnetic cannons on the 7,000-meter battleship were firing in unison, and its central main gun is also roaring with death. The main cannon is not a live ammunition weapon, nor is it a beam energy weapon. It is very strange. When it is fired, the mouth of the cannon with a diameter of 300 meters is shining brightly, but nothing is fired. However, the impact is on the into the warships of the Xinjiang fleet in Lin Yuandong's 4th battle group. The shield of a frigate was still in good condition, but the main body of the battleship protected by the shield suddenly deformed and collapsed. It turned into a large group of the most blazing fireworks in mid-air. What kind of weapon is this? At this moment, Lin Yuandong and Qiao Xiangjun were both terrified watching this scene. There is no ballistic, no track to find. Just targeted killing like this. Damn it. Lin Yuandong and Qiao Xiangjun gave the order to disperse the fleet almost at the same time, and fired at the same time. The remaining 29 warships of the 2 Yuncheng battle groups are pulling away from each other at high speed, forming a huge oval shape, encircling the last 6 ghost ship warships in the middle, and bombarding each other. And the 7,000-meter warship was slowly turning its angle again, aiming its central main gun at the speeding Xinjiang fleet warship. Another Enlightenment-class battleship was hit. This time, it was twisted into a ball, like a can, crushed, and exploded in mid-air. And at this moment, 2 other Enlightenment-class battleships were hit by the flying shells intensively. Their shields were penetrated, and the battleships were detonated in mid-air. Qiao Xiangjun and Lin Yuandong's Red Vanguard and Liang, the 2 Yuncheng-class battleships, also drew a circle in mid-air, and moved to the upper and lower positions of an enemy ship very cleverly, and the main guns fired together in the dazzling light. The upper and lower flashes directly pierced a 2-kilometer-long warship, and the chained explosions engulfed the huge warship in the blink of an eye. And Qiao Xiangjun and Lin Yuandong reminded each other in the channel almost at the same time, "Get out of the way," because the 7,000-meter warship was readjusting its angle. The main guns were pointed directly at the 2 scattered flagships here. At the same time, the other 4 ghost warships rose one after another, blocking Qiao Xiangjun and Lin Yuandong's flagship and the 7,000-meter warship, forming an iron curtain to block these 2 people out. Seeing this, Lin Yuandong and Qiao Xiangjun could only turn around immediately, advance at full speed, and move in 2 directions at high speed. Embarrassingly, dodged the gun. However, for this reason, their 2 warships were hit by hundreds of electromagnetic guns each, and the stock value of the shield dropped sharply. The 7,000-meter warship didn't hit the object. From the perspective of space, if it wasn't for the light in its main gun, it would have looked as if it hadn't fired at all. Fixed point, location-based sniping, but it's not inevitable as long as the speed is fast enough and you give up your defense. You can get out of the way, Qiao Xiangjin roared. Have you analyzed it? What kind of attack pattern is this? On the bridge, the staff of the technical team immediately said, Commander, we still need time. Real-time analysis in wartime, whether it is data recording, extraction, analysis or drawing preliminary conclusions, is very difficult. The only thing we can confirm is, with a 43-second interval between fires and at this moment, another Enlightenment-class battleship was hit by the main gun of the 7,000-meter battleship. The Awakener-class battleship is a brain-controlled battleship. After confirming that it was being targeted, it tried to evade, but its explosive acceleration was far inferior to that of the Yuncheng. In the footsteps of the previous battleships, they were cracked and exploded on the spot on the universe fixed point, instant, and sniping, even if you can respond in advance through the direction of its muzzle. But from the current situation, only the battleship Yuncheng can completely avoid its attack, even if you dodge. But also completely give up fire defense against other attacks for part of the time. 143 seconds. How many battleships do they have? What a terrible price would they have to pay before crushing this fleet of ghost ships head-on? Qiao Xiangjin clenched his teeth. Damn. In Liang, Lin Yuanduang slammed the operation panel in front of him, and said in a deep voice, you can't hit it head-on. Even if you eat it head-on, our two combat groups are finished. Where's our space fighter formation? Old Qiao, I suggest let them rush in with our nano cloud. The shields of the ghost ship fleet are weak. We will try our best to open the way for them, and sink this 7,000-meter battleship first, then we can win the game in one fell swoop. Chapter 132. Building blocks. The laser cannon of the dodecahedral conical battleship is the focused laser beam emitted by the entire ship, limited by its size and energy. Its own power is not strong, only 3 times the power of the laser main gun of the destroyer of the Xinjiang fleet. There is no way to compare with the Yuncheng. Laser beams came through the air, falling on the shields of the warships of the Xinjiang fleet. It was like an attack on the surface of the water, rolling out circles of light ripples. The threat is still relatively large, but this level of strike cannot cause any substantial damage to the battleship of the Yuncheng class. As soon as the Proxima warships opened fire, their attack mode was exposed. These dodecahedral conical warships and the warships of the Xinjiang fleet have different modes of operation. They are one-ship-style turrets, and each ship is a laser cannon. This also goes along with their relatively small size and structure. However, isn't this kind of battleship structure with one ship and one gun too restrictive? This thought flashed through Su Ran's mind. So far, although the Proxima Centauri fleet has full sound and light effects, its lethality and threat are far from enough. If that's all it is, then a battle group can wipe out hundreds of Proxima Centauri warships in just a short time. This is different from the description in the records of the Swarm, where the Proxima fleet was dazzled and then defeated. Dazzling is there, but their attacks are too weak among the 3 battle groups on the side of the Xinjiang fleet. The Yuncheng was blocked in front, so their attacks had little effect. Judging from the current situation, these Proxima Centauri dodecahedral conical spaceships are completely gimmicky. Their whole structure is very conducive to storing energy and can fire continuously in a short period of time. The energy storage time of their laser cannons is also very short. The frequency is also high, but what's the use, judging from the current parameters? If this Proxima Centauri fleet wants to bombard the 3 battle groups on its own side of the entire ship, it must bombard for at least 1 hour without interruption according to the calculation data of the Xinjiang fleet. Although these dodecahedral conical spaceships are very flexible and have amazing computing power, it only takes half an hour for the Xinjiang fleet to completely destroy them. Really, this Proxima fleet only has small spaceships. Is it just a pseudo-main force to confuse the Earth? Want to procrastinate, but that being the case, why do they want to get closer to the Xinjiang fleet? Is it because he is afraid that he will not die fast enough? At this moment, 5 strands of 12-sided conical battleships were spreading out in the sky, moving at high speed. 4 of them were divided into 2 to meet the 2 battle groups, while the other one entered the center and rushed forward. To Su Ran's first battle group in the center while moving, they rapidly changed their formation to evade all kinds of attacks from the Xinjiang fleet. Under the flashing light, they were indeed dazzling and even hard to see directly in the vertical and horizontal light. The Proxima Centauri fleet suddenly weakened the attack frequency of its laser cannons, and instead threw out a large area of nanomachines. The number of these nanomachines is huge, from the front shield to the nearest Xinjiang fleet. While the dodecahedral conical battleship group that was rushing towards the Xinjiang fleet at high speed suddenly slowed down and pulled back, and in the dazzling flash, it dazzled again. Array the Xinging fleet has also been prepared for these nanomachines. After all, there has been a lesson from the ghost ship before. Knowing what kind of effect this attack will achieve, it is much easier to deal with it. The little sparrow has already been prepared. A group of UAV fighter jets whizzed out, and with a short-range gun under the supervision of the fire control radar, they flew around in circles, annihilating and strangling all nanomachines. Clusters of sparks erupted everywhere in the space, and a huge number of nanomachines were completely cannon fodder, and were destroyed in pieces by the fleet in space. Su-Ran, on the other hand, was calling out the evolution analysis diagram of the Proxima fleet. Judging from the picture, the dazzling 5 battleship groups of the Proxima Star fleet are fighting independently, changing their formation rapidly, and they are still forming alternate formations even though they are moving at high speed. From the current analysis, it seems that they are going to form a huge battleship. The saucer-shaped pot cover, facing the nearest warship of the Xinging fleet head-on, and judging from the data flow, their formation change speed and the flight position of each dodecahedral cone-shaped spaceship are extremely accurate. Is this wasting time? Is this fleet really just suspicious soldiers who have no combat power at all? No, in the universe, resources are unlimited, but the resources mined by a civilization within a limited time are limited, and the production capacity is also limited. Who will spend a lot of resources and manufacturing power to build a fancy fleet with no offensive power just to confuse others? So, Su-Ran looked at the huge dish-shaped array formed by the Proxima fleet against the attack of the fleet. His pupils shrank suddenly, realized something, and directly issued an order: drop our heavy pulse bomb. Break through their formation. After giving the order, the first battle group in the center suddenly retreated in the opposite direction, and at the same time, a heavy pulse bomb was released, facing the formation of the Proxima Star fleet, covering them head-on. The other 2 battle groups didn't dare to be negligent, and responded immediately when they heard Su-Ran's order. Who launched a pulse torpedo, and then led the entire battle group down. Attacking the 2 Proxima Star fleet dodecahedral conical warships. On the other hand, Tongmaya Okyu directly raised the high 3 heavy electromagnetic pulse torpedoes launched from 3 Yunchang-class battleships exploded in space. This is the strongest electromagnetic pulse weapon under the 5th level manufacturing list. It has strong penetrability and great power. After the impact, the formation was scattered for a while. This is an opportunity. A stern look flashed in Tongmaya Okyu's eyes. On the battlefield, the battle situation is changing rapidly, and this is the opportunity to destroy the Proxima fleet in one go. If they can penetrate the Proxima fleet at this moment, they can kill all the methods they have not yet shot, and Su-Ran also gave an order in an instant, and the first battle group he was in also rushed up in an instant, and rushed out at the same time as Hu's second battle group. To join Tongmaya Okyu and fight through the chaos of Proxima Centauri. At this moment, the Ray's Narcissus was the first to dive back. Tongmaya Okyu's eyes reflected the bright flash of the Proxima warship. Blow up groups of bright flames, and in the light of the fire, the chaotic Proxima fleet did not retreat, but quickly reorganized a battle formation in mid-air, reflecting the 5th battle group headed by the Narcissus that swooped down to form a huge disc-shaped battle formation, and in the center of the battle formation, the shining Proxima battleship group stepped aside. A diamond-like battleship that was clearly different from other Proxima fleet passed the shining Proxima fleet, and rushed to the 5th battle group of the Xinging fleet that was diving down, and behind this diamond, dodecahedron cone-shaped battleships light up neatly. And the energy quickly gathers to the fleet along the bright dodecahedron structure of the battleships, and the tip of the warship's cone points directly at this place. A diamond battleship leading the Proxima fleet, that is, Tongmaya Okyu's face changed suddenly. The speed of reorganization of the Proxima fleet is too fast. At this moment, their reconstruction speed is several times that shown before, far exceeding the previous data obtained by the Xinging fleet. This is the convergence of multiple lasers, and it is necessary to build a giant boosted laser main cannon in an instant. At this moment, there are at least 60 Proxima Centauri dodecahedron-shaped conical spaceships that make up this focusing dish, which means that this is 60 times the terrifying blow of Proxima Centauri's conventional laser cannon. Unlock the first level control authority, Tongmaya Okyu voice commanded, and in front of her, 2 analog joysticks instantly popped up on the virtual control interface. At this moment, she bypassed the adjustment modules of all modules, and opened the captain's unique authority to forcibly take over the control of the entire Narcissus at all levels. Right, and when the female captain held the joystick tightly, she forcibly pulled up the battleship Narcissus. The Narcissus, which was diving, turned suddenly, and the previous intelligent command of the electromagnetic gun that was firing fiercely collided with the commander's high-level authority that suddenly intervened, and even bombarded its own ship armor. However, amidst the wailing of the battleship, this 2,000-meter-long behemoth turned abruptly at a right angle, raised its height, and flew out of the range of a huge focusing disc main gun in one breath, and at this moment, directly below the 5th battle group, a huge focusing dish has formed, and each Proxima dodecahedron spacecraft shoots out dazzling flashes of light, and laser strikes converge at high speed on the center diamond. That diamond instantly shone with boundless light like a star, but that is not a real diamond. Under the incredible instantaneous calculation and execution power of the entire Proxima fleet, and under the instantaneous control of the diamond warship, countless laser beams from the same dodecahedron warship are instantly recalibration was corrected, the amplification was strengthened, the hull was broken into parts, and gathered into an extremely powerful main cannon, and the blow pierced a cold and dark starry sky in the next moment. P.S. The new book The Era of Mysterious Advent published by Herbal Tea is launched today. Please support. The new book is almost 100,000 words. It is very important to test the water today, so I ask for your support. I hope you can read it, bookmark it, and vote for recommendation. Herbal Tea is very grateful. Don't worry, everyone, although this Black Technology subscription has been dropping, but the story will continue. I will continue to write. The climax of the Battle of Proxima is coming. You can search the title of the new book directly from the starting point or click on my avatar to enter the interface and you can see it. With everyone's support, the author can code words without any worries. Chapter 133 Breakthrough. The Proxima Centauri fleet that appeared outside the Earth has a total of 236 ships, and 17 ships have been damaged in 11 minutes of fighting. It seems that they do not have a main ship, and each one is small and not very threatening, but here for a moment, they proved with facts that their 200 or so small warships were their main ships, 60 Proxima dodecahedral conical warships with one ship and one gun that are only 50 meters long quickly built a main gun 60 times that of a single ship in midair by virtue of their incredible computing power and advanced technology. A single shot penetrated the 5th battle group of the Zerg fleet. The moment the fire is fired is the moment the strike is completed. A piercing flash of light flashed past the Narcissus, which was avoiding the front, and shot through the 3 Enlightenment class warships and a frigate following the Narcissus spark. At this moment, the dazzling light was extinguished. The 3 nuclear torpedoes dropped by the raised Narcissus slammed into the main battery array composed of 60 dodecahedron conical spaceships here at high speed. However, it was also at this moment that these dodecahedral conical spaceships exploded in midair, breaking them into pieces and dodging the 3 high-speed nuclear torpedoes dropped by the Narcissus. And almost at the moment when the array of Proxima warships scattered here, the remaining 100 dodecahedral conical spaceships in the other 2 directions forcibly broke away from them after paying the price of 12 dodecahedron warships. Facing the battleship Narcissus, the Scorched battle group reorganized in space to form a second focusing disc built by more than 100 dodecahedral conical spaceships. It was like building blocks, and it was assembled in less than half a minute. And pieced together a giant main gun array. And at the moment when the focusing disc was formed, another diamond battleship burst out from the dense array of the entire line, and immediately after that, each dodecahedron spaceship began to gather flashes of light. Again Proxima Centauri's new main gun array took shape, and the 60 dodecahedron-shaped conical spaceships that had completed a round of bombardment passed through in reverse directions, blocking the 1st and 2nd battle groups of the Zerg fleet rushing to the side. Hold back their walking pace, divide the battlefield, and completely trap the 5th battle group into the double team of the Proxima fleet in an instant. The battle situation was reversed. A mere 60 dodecahedral cone-shaped spaceships cannot stop the 2 attack groups for a long time, but only a moment is enough. Every Proxima star warship is exactly the same. They are all dazzling and flickering, and they seem to be flying around in a daze, but on this battlefield, each of their warships has precise calculation trajectories, even accurate enough that each warship must what spatial position does each femtosecond arrive at. In the previous chaotic battles, the space warfare literacy and computing power displayed by the Proxima star fleet were already astonishing, but now, they have reached a new level. Obviously, the Zerg fleet is waiting for them to make mistakes, and they are also waiting for the Zerg fleet to make mistakes. Over 100 Proxima dodecahedral conical battleships completed the formation, and each battleship began to shine brightly. Streams of light converged, and each battleship emitted dazzling light like a crystal in the center of a spotlight. From a distance, It looks like a giant space searchlight turned on, extremely bright and brilliant at this moment. The situation is also very clear. The unique and even tasteless structure of the Proxima dodecahedral conical battleship is precisely designed for this kind of flexible space combat. It does not require a main ship. Every battleship is a part of the main ship and does not require a super powerful main ship. The firepower of these small warships can be adjusted, and the energy storage mode and firing mode of these small warships can maximize the shooting efficiency of the main guns built by themselves. This is why one chopstick under the starry sky is easy to break, but 10 chopsticks can't be broken. Of course, this sounds very simple, but in fact, it is not easy to achieve this. The demand for computing power, the demand for warship materials, the requirements for core technology, etc. cannot be met by any civilization. In the field, a huge array of focusing dish cannons took shape in an instant, like a huge flashing curtain heading towards Xinjiang. Tongmaya Oku's Narcissus. Tongmaya Oku raised her head. Even though the main control screen inside the battleship had weakened the light, the strong and dazzling flash still made her almost unable to open her eyes. The female captain was clenching her teeth, and while activating the emergency escape mode of the bridge, she decisively issued her last order on the Narcissus. I am the captain of the Narcissus, Tongmaya Oku. Start the escape procedure. All mobile units in the fleet, please immediately go to the nearest escape cabin and activate the escape equipment. A red alert was sent to the entire ship, and each escape pod popped out at high speed and Tongmaya Oku's captain's seat was closed and ejected immediately. There was a loud bang, and the world spun. Tongmaya Oku watched helplessly as she flew out from the central control terminal of the Narcissus, and the black battleship pulled away instantly, and the next moment, her escape pod was illuminated. The light was so dazzling and scorching hot that she could feel the terrifying light and heat even through the safety defense layer and the nano-glass layer of the escape cabin. Warning. The radiation exceeds the standard. Warning. The temperature exceeds the standard. The dark energy armor on Tongmaya Oku's body became hot, and her eyes became hot, yet she was still unwilling to look away, for that blinding flash was engulfing her flagship, and engulfing all those who had yet to escape. Swallow the Narcissus. She just watched like this, seeing the ray from the other end piercing through his warship in the center. The Yuncheng, which was 2,000 meters long and wide, collapsed and died tragically in the destructive ray. I don't know how many people have been swallowed by destruction before they even made it to where the escape pods were. What a magnificent scene this is. The huge battleship was pierced by the spear of light, and then exploded and collapsed section by section. And the flames rose from the flash, magnificent and silent, as cold as the starry sky at the far end. The big cannon of the Proxima Star fleet is rapidly reorienting, firing the second cannon at an incredible speed. Taking advantage of the remaining 60 dodecahedral conical warships to briefly intercept the first and second battle groups. The opportunity to strangle the remnants of the fifth battle group that was divided into the Proxima fleet array. The dazzling lights flickered like flashing lights on a stage. Finally, the light is gone. Tongmaya Oku's eyes were blinded by the light. Blood and tears flowed from her eye sockets. Darkness engulfed her world, but the destructive light shining with death seemed to still remain at the end of her optic nerve. Immediately afterwards, the shock wave swept from the collapsed Narcissus, and her escape pod was swept out like duckweed. A series of alarms sounded non-stop during the shock, but she clenched her fists tightly and opened her mouth. Make a silent howl in the Xinjiang fleet. The Narcissus, the flagship of the 5th battle group, was destroyed. In addition to the bridge, some core functional areas have escape cabins with independent seats. There were 2,721 people on the ship, and more than 2,500 people were killed instantly, and the entire 5th battle group suffered a devastating blow in less than half a minute, and the 5th battle group suffered more than 70% of its losses. Well, there may be some big guys here who think that the destruction is too fast, but I thought about it. It should be like this: hit to death in one breath. There are so many dramas that are stable, accurate and ruthless. If these 2 chapters can make it, must be a cool picture. Well, everyone may also have doubts about why Su Ran didn't release the new battleship quickly. I will talk about this later. There is a reason. Chapter 134, Jupiter Battlefield. The second battlefield, the orbit of Jupiter. Peng. Zhao Ziji heard the beating of his own heart. Deathly silence in the starry sky. Even though the flames of war are raging outside, the huge wreckage of warships fly by, and the dense rain of missiles and energy beams pass through it, but in this little black star space fighter, everything is so quiet at this moment. He was leading his attack aircraft team to advance at a high speed, and behind him, the mothership they took off from, The flagship Liang of the 4th Yunchang battle group of the Xinjiang fleet, was opening the way for them. The 3rd battle group has just opened the distance rapidly, one far and one close. This is the tactic of Lin Yuandong and Qiao Xiangchen. And the real ultimate move is the 2 Black Star fighter squadrons flying out from the Red Pioneer and Liang, with 12 attack aircraft in each squadron. Each carries 3 torpedoes loaded with high-temperature molten nanoclouds. As long as they can approach the past, if even a single torpedo is dropped on the 7,000-meter battleship that is already full of wounds, the angry cloud of fire can burn the entire battleship. Nanoclouds are of little use to biological swarms, but here the fleet of ghost ships and even the Proxima nanomachines that operate within them are made of steel, and the iron and steel creation is the best food for the molten nanocloud. In Star Wars, it is easy to destroy a battleship, but it is also very difficult. Zhao Ziji and the others must break through the blockade of the 5 enemy ships and the non-dead angle covering defense system that has been confirmed to exist on the outer layer of the 7,000-meter battleship. Compared with this, passing through the weak shield of the ghost ship has become the easiest thing. Every second, they are brushing shoulders with death. After advancing 17 kilometers, Zhao Ziji and his fighter formation, known as the strongest in the entire fleet, had already lost 3 Black Stars. This was still covered by the wreckage of the destroyed ghost ship and Lin Yuandong's 4th battle group, and there are still at least 500 kilometers left to approach the 7,000-meter warship. That's right, 500 kilometers at this moment. Whether it is the battlefield in extraterrestrial space or the battlefield in Jupiter's orbit, the concept of close-distance warfare also takes place within at least 5,000 kilometers. In fact, at this moment, the distance between the remaining few warships of the ghost ship fleet alone reached more than 10 kilometers among the 2 battle groups, one in near and one far away. The 4th battle group under the command of Lin Yuandong, who strangled at close range, was also kept at a distance of about 3,000 kilometers from the ghost ship fleet, while Qiao Xiangchen's 3rd battle group had gradually been pulled to 2,000 kilometers away. However, under such circumstances, if the 7,000-meter warship can be detonated accurately, Zhao Ziji manipulated the Black Star to avoid a huge wreckage of a battleship nimbly, and led his formation to quickly pass through the wreckage. And at this moment, the light of the laser main cannon of the Red Vanguard of the 3rd battle group in the distance shines from the sky. A ghost warship that blocked Zhao Ziji and the others maneuvered to evade, which created an opportunity for Zhao Ziji and the others to pass under the huge ghost warship smoothly. But at this moment, a huge shadow shrouded down a huge strange-shaped warship enveloped them, and the short-range guns on it spew death flashes at Zhao Ziji's Black Star fighter team. Avoiding attacks on the battlefield is an instinct tempered by thousands of trainings. They spread out in space instantly to avoid scattered attacks, and at this moment, Zhao Ziji's Black Star sent an alarm warn. Massive nanoweapon approach detected. Zhao Ziji immediately raised his head. A large piece of nanomachines is grazing from the ghost ship warship above their heads, covering them. Of course, Zhao Ziji's human eyesight is invisible, but through the display screening system of the Black Star, the position of this piece of nanomachines is accurately marked. Zhao Ziji immediately organized his attack team to fire back and attack these nanomachines. They do not have an autonomous defense system like the large warships such as the Yuncheng. Once they are bullied by these nanomachines, they will definitely be captured. However, they had to avoid the short-range artillery attacks of the enemy ships and fight back against the nanomachines, so their progress was even slower, and they were almost dragged here, unable to enter. Zhao Ziji is not afraid of dying in battle. He is afraid of failing to complete the task because he knew that every 43 seconds a warship in their fleet was targeted and killed. The 3rd battle group, which is farther away, has a higher chance of evasion, while the 5th battle group in front of the muzzle has almost no possibility of evasion except for the main ship Yuncheng. And it is completely trying to buy time for them. Don't delay. Don't miss a moment. Any idea? Any idea? There is no clever solution to this kind of battle. Zhao Ziji raised his head, and the 7,000-meter-long black warship in the distance seemed to be within sight. However, this mere 100 kilometers can be crossed in less than 3 minutes with the performance of the Black Star. Right now. But it is a natural moat. Zhao Ziji turned his head to glance at his attack formation, and gritted his teeth. At this time, there is only one way. At the same moment, the Liang was under attack. Boss, more than half of our battle group has been destroyed. Not only do we have to withstand the sniper attack of the 7,000-meter warship, but we also have to face the enemy's dense artillery formation, and our bomber formation has only advanced by less than 3 points. 1. Go on like this. Go on like this. Li Yan's voice trembled. 4 of the 10 Enlightenment-class battleships have been destroyed, and only 2 frigates are left to fight hard. With the super firepower and main gun of the 7,000-meter battleship, they are not at the top at all. Just fired at that time, 6 enemy ships were destroyed by surprise attack without paying any price, but now, after fighting for so long and paying so much price, 1 more ship was wiped out. Those who died in this battle were all their brothers and comrades. Lin Yuandong didn't say anything, he just stared at the far end. There is no other way. The 2 sides are anxious. The enemy ship can dodge their blows, but they can't dodge the enemy ship's main gun, and once the distance is too close, the main gun of the Liang can guarantee a hit, but the chance of hitting Liang with the main gun of the 1,000-meter battleship will also become 100%. At that time, it is still unknown who will be killed first. Moreover, the main laser cannon of the Yuncheng is also a beam energy weapon, and if it penetrates with a fixed point, it may not be able to destroy the 7,000-meter battleship with a single shot if his Yuncheng-class warship was destroyed, not to mention that Qiao Xiangjun would be alone. How could he have the face to see his brother who died in battle? What face does he have to meet his brother Suran Su? At this time, you must hold your breath. Be sure to hold your breath to fight for opportunities and time for those 2 fighter formations. They have to be believed. You must trust your comrades. Chapter 135 The Road to Charge. Guys, I have a plan. Zhao Ziji's voice sounded in his team's separate communication channel. I just contacted Captain Song of the Brother Formation. We have finalized the tactics. It will definitely not work if this continues. Our fleet can't afford it. And this kind of battle situation, there is no trickery. The impatient Song boy has long been like an ant on a hot pot. At this time, he couldn't help but said, don't our 2 formations have 6 nano clouds? Just blow them all the way. There are only 5 enemy ships left. Let's blow them all up. If we die, we still have the rest. Old Song has already destroyed a fighter plane carrying a nano cloud. Zhao Ziji said sharply, according to your tactics, if we run out of ammunition in the end and the nano cloud cannot be blown up, do you want to kill all our brothers? Songboi was silent. Zhao Ziji said, I know you are in a hurry, but there is no other way. Now there is only one way. Our 2 formations cover each other, regardless of the cost, and kill them in a suicide charge. Do you still remember our training once? Is that the tactic of that time? A spiral charge formation, life for distance. Of course, this time is for real. None of us may survive today, so, I want to say first, needless to say, Captain, let's charge. Captain, neither of us came from the military, but our brothers are giving us their lives. They didn't say a word. That's trusting us. We have to find a way for everyone to survive. Fuck you, Captain, we'll follow you. Zhao Ziji opened his mouth to say something, but he felt as if something was stuck in his throat. After a long while, he only shouted hoarsely, brothers, regroup and report to me about the survival situation every half a second. Now, let's charge. The scattered formation of Black Star fighter jets began to reassemble, and they formed a line, spiraling around each other and moving forward in line. They no longer evaded blows, and only led by Zhao Ziji's fighter plane, they rushed forward all the way, and when they were attacked on the outside, the next Black Star fighter plane spiraled up to take its place. Immediately afterwards, they merged with a second formation of Black Star warships to form a larger spiral structure. Like a spiral sword trying to pierce the formation of the ghost ship fleet in one fell swoop. This change of course caught the attention of Lin Yuandong and Qiao Xiangjun. Lin Yuandong frowned tightly. In this case, with a number of their fighters, they may be wiped out before they can reach the 7,000-meter warship. Qiao Xiangjun said in a deep voice, so we have to help them. Brother Dong, you are still bombarding at close range. My fleet will start charging. But, we are the farthest away, not us charging. Who will charge? Qiao Xiangjun said, you have not seen the latest analysis results? The main gun of this 7,000-meter warship is to cause a certain kind of space collapse effect. It is not a material weapon, only works in space, so it can cross the shield. If it pays attention to this Black Star fleet, if it shoots down, I'm afraid. So, I want to attract its attention while speaking. The third battle group that was harassing in the distance had already completed its turn and began to accelerate, but at this moment, a battleship suddenly accelerated and stopped Qiao Xiangjun's Red Vanguard flagship that was Su Russian's frigate. The man said in a deep voice, if you charge, you must be a target. You must not be a target. Please let me lead the charge. Qiao Xiangjun didn't hesitate, and immediately agreed with his decision. His Red Pioneer began to slow down, while the rest of the warships of the 3rd Battle Group, led by Su-Russian's frigate, charged towards the formation like Zhao Ziji's Black Star attack team. Su-Russian's charge is also indomitable, only speed up, speed up, speed up again. The fleet became a meteor across the galaxy, crashing into the 7,000-meter battleship surrounded by layers of ghost ships, and in the center of the vortex of the battlefield, amidst the wreckage and the rain of bullets, the spiral sword constructed by the attacking aircraft composed of 2 black planetary fighters has been damaged more than half, but it has not stopped, and is still advancing indomitably. The broken battleship wreckage, the dark starry sky, and the rain of bullets were all left behind. In the channels of the 2 fighter formations, there were fewer and fewer voices still reporting survival. This is the number 3 machine. The armor plate on the right side of my machine is damaged, and the speed has dropped. I will replace it with the outer layer. This is aircraft number 7. My engine has been damaged, and the fuel tank is damaged. I will leave the team. Please be sure to destroy the enemy ship. This is Please destroy the enemy ship. From time to time, Black Sphere warships would burn and leave the spiral flight formation to be engulfed by the nanomachines and the swirling artillery fire behind them, fragmented, riding the most splendid moment in life with death. But despite this, they charged not only them. On a higher scale of the starry sky, the warships of the 3rd Battle Group are under the leadership of Su-Russian, and they are rushing towards the ghost ship fleet like an arrow from the string. The distance of tens of thousands of kilometers has given them enough time to accelerate. The speed is getting faster and faster, and they also successfully attracted the attention of the ghost ship fleet. The huge 7,000-meter battleship slowly turned, and the main gun was aimed in this direction. The first 43 seconds the front end of Su-Russian's frigate twisted, deformed, exploded, and broke away from the fleet. The 3rd Battle Group is still charging. The second 43 seconds another Enlightenment-class battleship was destroyed in the air. At this moment, the 3rd Battle Group is still charging, and has infinitely approached the ghost ship fleet, and at this moment, the battleships of the ghost ship fleet raised their altitude at the same time, and their guns aimed at the 3rd Battle Group that was infinitely approaching here, and opened fire crazily. If you continue to dive, the 3rd Battle Group will undoubtedly hit the ghost ship fleet's 10,520 guns in an instant, causing heavy losses in an instant. However, it was also at this moment that the charge of the 3rd Battle Group suddenly stopped, showing an arc and rising in height, passing by the ghost ship fleet at the same time. The Black Star fighter group has infinitely approached the 7,000 League ghost ship battleship. At this moment, there were only 5 of the 24 Black Star fighters left in the 2 fighter groups, and 3 of the remaining 5 carried high-temperature molten nano. Cloud Zhao Ziji's fighter plane was leading the charge at the forefront of this disfigured spiral sword. As the captain, his fighter plane did not carry a nano cloud, and at this moment, his Black Star had also been severely damaged, and even we all saw Mars, but he still didn't pause for a moment. Seeing the 7,000-meter battleship in front of him, he hissed, "The moment we protect our bomb carrier and tear off the shield of the enemy ship is the moment we win." Chapter 136 Deadlock. It has been confirmed that the flagship Narcissus of the 5th Battle Group of the Xinjiang Fleet has been destroyed, and more than half of the 5th Battle Group has been damaged. The total number of damaged warships in the 3 outer space battle groups of the Xinjiang Fleet has reached 17, and the total number of casualties more than 7,000 people in Kyoto. Almost at the moment when the situation on the battlefield changed, the news had already reached the ears of the top officials. As a matter of fact, the first official has already seen the scene of scorching chaos in space through the observation stations on the ground and in space, and saw the grand fireworks of the Narcissus collapse. At this moment, many high-level officials in Kyoto are gathered in the conference room of the building where the main control core unit of the Ring planetary defense system is located. And at the same time they are connected to several countries around the world to prepare for real-time changes in the battle situation. Since the Narcissus was destroyed, everyone in the room has fallen into silence. I see. After a while, the first important person said this sentence a little tiredly, and many people were looking at him. A general said, "Although the Xinjiang fleet seems to have lost the strength of a battle group, the number of battle losses of the Proxima fleet has also reached 51, and they have completely exposed their fighting style. The combat mode seems to be difficult to crack at present, but this is already the beginning of our victory." The first important person nodded. His thoughts were almost the same as the general, but he didn't say much, but asked, "How is the situation in Jupiter's orbit?" The staff member who was in charge of summarizing and reporting the detailed information hurriedly stood up again and said, "Report, The news about Jupiter's orbit in our team is delivered through the Xinging fleet, and it seems that Jupiter's orbit has also entered a stalemate. The first important member nodded, then slowly turned his gaze back to look at the picture and the battle situation in the picture sent back. The Xinging fleet is shrinking in an all-round way, as if it is about to get out of the battle. At the same time, there is a large-scale temporary survivor base on Kyushu Island, and the command center of the temporary headquarters of the Xinging fleet. There are also a lot of people gathered here, all of whom are high-level executives from various auxiliary departments in the fleet, as well as a ground reserve advisory team, all of whom are following up the battle situation of the Xinging fleet in real time. The scene where the Narcissus was destroyed was also imprinted in the eyes of these people. The advisory team is actively discussing the situation, and the atmosphere is tense and chilling. However, at this moment, the Xinging fleet has all lifted off. The only ones left on the ground are some transport ships and one or two semi-retired destroyers. They can no longer contribute to the war situation. The old man Zhang Jianguo sat at the front, squinting his eyes at the shining battlefield in the picture, and said nothing all the time, and Meng Yibai stood in the rearmost corner and watched this scene silently. In silence, her eyes flickered slightly, and her fists in her sleeves were slightly clenched. What is this girl thinking? Is she also nervous about this battle? At the same time, in space, the flames of the explosions of warships have not been engulfed by the coldness of the universe. The dazzling Proxima star warships are still interspersed back and forth in space, overlapping and changing, and the flickering glow is like gems dotted in the starry sky. Deadly threat. The huge focusing dish, a giant cannon built by 100 Proxima warships, has been pierced by the first battle group led by Su Ran from the side. To complete this attack, the Proxima fleet paid the price of more than 50 fighters. Now flying around like flies, keeping a close distance, avoiding every round of attack by the Xinging fleet, while trying to find an opportunity to open up a second round of attack. But the Xinging fleet is also trying its best to dismantle the possibility of their reorganization. The Proxima fleet is actively rushing for thousands of miles, closing the distance at high speed, no doubt in order to let their combined cannons exert the greatest power. This kind of giant cannon that is formed like lightning and can fire almost instantly has a hit probability of almost 100% at close range, and once attacked, they can also be quickly broken into pieces. Using a relatively small body and the powerful computing power is used to evade and find opportunities for the next round of fire. Therefore, only in such close-range chaotic battles can Proxima Centauri's flash fleet play its greatest advantage. At this moment, under Su Ran's order, the Xinging fleet has also temporarily given up bombarding and killing the enemy ships here, and instead prioritize preventing them from forming in formation. Su Ran is going to retreat to the direction of the Earth, to shorten the distance to the Earth. And to shorten the distance to the Earth, the Earth's circumplanetary defense system will be able to exert greater combat effectiveness, cooperate with the fleet, and wipe out this Proxima Centauri fleet. However, Su Ran still has not launched his own Starry Sky combat platform aircraft carrier Type I, because in this case, the aircraft carrier Type I is just a target when it comes out. The circumplanetary defense system is even more sufficient, so whether the aircraft carrier I appears in a battle situation is of almost zero significance. This is like using a battleship to fight Loach. The important thing is not how huge the battleship is, but how to use firepower to annihilate these flexible Loaches, and, with the size of the aircraft carrier I, at this distance, it is likely to be instantly penetrated by the Proxima fleet's assembled artillery array. So, without point, why would he throw it into battle? Many people compare space battles to naval battles on Earth, but this is not the case. The diversity and complexity of space battles is far from being a display of warships bombarding each other with naval guns and carrier-based aircraft. Whoever hits and sinks first wins. Of course, in Star Wars, the hit rate is still very important, but the chance of not hitting is often higher. But now, although the Proxima Starfleet succeeded in one blow, it also showed its shortcomings. As long as they cooperate properly, it is only a matter of time before they can be wiped out in one fell swoop only. I don't know the soldiers on the Narcissus. Su Ran raised her head and looked at the collapsed battlefield over there in the world of fire and wreckage. A battered warship sails through it. That was the last remaining frigate of the Narcissus. It was like a giant whale full of scars, cruising tragically among the corpses of its companions. Lee Huxley stood in front of the bridge with his hands down, and the crimson light projected from the screen outside the ship reflected his body and the bridge behind him into blood-red lines of traction light projected from his frigate between the wreckage and the starry sky, taking back the escape boats floating in this area one by one like duckweed. Maybe some people in the escape pods were dead, but some man is still alive. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 137 The Final Gallop. Jupiter orbits the battlefield. The 7,000-meter warship is readjusting its muzzle and aiming at the next target at the same time. The last 5 Black Star fighters were infinitely approaching the target. The 7,000-meter warship appeared in front of him. Compared with this behemoth, the 5 Black Stars in this mirror area were as small as shrimps next to giant whales. However, at this moment, Xiaomi is carrying the ultimate weapon that can turn the tide of the battle. Zhao Ziji raised his head and looked forward. This warship is so huge, dark and cold. Its huge steel body shows the coldness and cruelty of the starry sky. In fact, the body of this 7,000-meter battleship has already been scarred, and some huge wounds are even hundreds of meters in length and width, from which the internal hull structure of the 7,000-meter battleship can even be seen. These are ghost ships, undead warships controlled by Proxima Centauri's nanomachines, and because of this, their shield systems are actually very weak. Open a hole in the shield. As long as you can open a hole, throw the nano cloud into it, everything can be over. Zhao Ziji couldn't help but squeeze the joystick tightly. Even the siren of his fighter seemed to have been ignored by him. However, at this moment, team leader, an exclamation pulled Zhao Ziji back from the illusion of victory. He raised his head like lightning, and saw a black wave overwhelmingly pressing down from their heads. The hulls of the ghost ship fleet are densely covered with Proxima Centauri's nanomachine clusters, and this is even more so on this 7,000-meter battleship. There are these nano-worms in every corner, and the number is huge, even billions. At this moment, just flying down from this side of the hull, there are at least 200,000 nano-worm swarms culling towards the remaining Black Star fighters. When it was confirmed that the Xinjiang fleet's charge was a feint attack, this small group of fighter planes that approached was of course the target immediately. At this moment, not only the swarm of nanobugs surged, but also the heavy artillery facing this side on the 7,000-meter battleship was also slowly adjusting its angle. Zhao Ziji quickly looked at the settlement data of his Black Star, and the 5 Black Star fighters were at least within the range of 70 short-range defensive guns. At this time, the 5 Black Stars had begun to retreat involuntarily. Get out of the way of the nanite swarm waves first. At this moment, the indomitable charge stalled. However, Zhao Ziji's hand holding the joystick was trembling slightly. 70 forts. More than 200,000 nano-worm swarms. It is enough to completely destroy all control their 5 scarred fighters within 10 seconds, enough to destroy all the opportunities Captain Lin and Captain Kiao created for them. All the sacrifices, all the hard work, will be in vain. No. Unit 4, I order you to release the nano cloud immediately. Unit 2, Songboi, I remember that your shield is the most complete so far. Do you still have the nano cloud on your body? This is the number 2 unit. I still have 60% of the energy stored in the shield, and it is running well. What are you doing, Captain? I'm going to use the nano cloud to open the last road for us, brothers. Do you dare to take a gamble with me? The captain of the 2nd Black Star Combat Formation sent an urgent inquiry. Team Zhao, what are you going to do? If 3 fighters are damaged in one go, we may not even be able to tear off the shield of the 7,000-meter battleship. Total failure. In the news channel, the number 4 and number 2 units in Zhao Ziji's team responded positively after a moment of silence. Captain, no matter what you do, we will follow you. Okay, Songboi, follow me and charge forward. Don't be in a daze, just follow me. Unit 4, I want you to launch the nano cloud immediately. The enemy nano swarm in front of the target, hurry up. Black Star number 4 opened fire in an instant, and the torpedoes carrying nano weapons whizzed out, arriving first and passing Zhao Ziji and Songboi's number 1 and number 2 fighters, which shot out one after the other, and hit the overwhelming Proxima Centauri. The swarm of nanobugs exploded with a bang. A fire cloud burst into starry sky in an instant. The 200,000 tiny swarms of nanoworms are illuminated by the sea of flames, as if a wall of flames rises along the outer space environment of a 7,000-meter warship, burning like a prairie fire, and the non-stop operation of nanomachines while all steel is devoured and transformed into a high-temperature molten state. The nano-worm swarm of Proxima Centauri has the function of control and maintenance, and does not have the ability to counteract. It is completely slaughtered before the extremely aggressive high-temperature molten nanomachines. The 200,000 nanoworm swarm exploded in a hurry, trying to avoid it, but it was too late. The fire cloud spread along with their movement, but stretched and elongated to form a larger one as they exploded. It's just a sea of flames burning in space. The blazing flames even reflected the inside and outside of Zhao Ziji and Songboy's fighter planes into fiery red, and they seemed to feel it at all. Sprinting at high speed, rushed to the fiery hell that is burning here at this moment. The 7,000-meter warship also began to turn around, trying to avoid it, but its size was too large, and the fighter planes of the Xinjiang fleet were too close to it. It has no time to get away enough distance. The captain of the second formation of the Black Star yelled, "Captain Zhao, are you crazy? Your fighter shield has collapsed. If you rush in like this, you will be eaten up by the nano cloud." Zhao Ziji didn't hear the opponent's roar at all, because at that moment he had crashed into the sea of flames. His fighter plane started to burn, and at the last moment before the outer communicator melted down, he only sent a last message to Songboy, who was following him. "Boy, follow me closely, but don't be too tight. This is the last time I take me with you. You charge. You can't bear the title of number one in our fleet." Among the blazing clouds of space fire, Zhao Ziji's number one machine took the lead, and the entire fuselage has turned red, but its propellers and power units have not been burned, so it is still advancing, and the number two aircraft just followed behind it like this. The shield rubbed against the fire cloud and became hot and red. Songboy and the number two machine watched this scene and already understood what his captain wanted to do. That Captain Zhao wants to use his life to make a way for him and the Xinjiang fleet create a path to blow up the 7,000-meter warship. Songboy felt his heart tremble slightly, but he didn't stop him. He just followed, neither near nor far, obeying his captain's orders. Just like the countless trainings before, follow your captain, complete this final gallop. The final charge. In the final gallop, Zhao Ziji took the initiative to disengage the safety mode and got out of his seat. The 200,000 loose nano-worm swarms made the expansion speed of the fire cloud faster and the gaps larger, and the material of the Black Star is composite armor, which has excellent performance and high heat resistance, which also prevents Zhao Ziji's fighters from it was engulfed in an instant. But even so, halfway through the journey, the outer armor of the fighter plane had turned into a molten state, and the black fighter plane turned into a red fireball. But it was still speeding forward indomitably. Although the inside of the fighter plane has not been burned through, it has already reached a terrifying temperature. Blisters began to appear on Zhao Ziji's body and face, but he still manually completed the last thing. He activated the self-destruct mechanism of the Black Star's miniature nuclear power reactor. Then, he sat in the red-hot fighter plane, squinting his eyes and looking ahead, but in fact he was already blind and couldn't see anything, but he still looked at it seriously because he can feel that his fighter is still advancing. Still charging, even if the propeller has burned out, even if the power furnace has stopped, but he is fast enough, and relying on inertia. He can complete the last sprint. Finish this one last gallop and his sprint will withstand the pressure for Songboy behind him and create the last chance. Goal achieved, mission accomplished. This is enough. So the man laughed. His body started to burn, but he is so excited because he did not live up to his mission and was worthy of the brothers who died in battle today. The flaming meteor pierced through the crimson fire cloud like a sharp arrow, and hit the shield of the outer space of the 7,000-meter battleship. The nuclear power furnace exploded, and the fragile shield of the 7,000-meter battleship was torn apart. Team Zhao has completed the last charge in his life. In the distance, there was a dead silence among the last three Black Stars. Those soldiers stared at this scene, and there was silence in the channel and behind the crimson meteor. Songboy's number 2 machine crashed into it in a violent shock. Warning, the shield is offline. Warning, the fighter plane is seriously damaged. Warn. Songboy's eyes were bloodshot, and the 7,000-meter battleship was in front of him. He had forgotten all the horrific and crazy alarms. At this moment, he dragged the scarred and broken fighter plane through the aftermath of the explosion, and pressed the torpedo launch button. Delivery is complete. The weapon loaded with a high-temperature molten nano cloud flew from the Black Star's torpedo launcher, roaring and roaring towards its target, then hit the 7,000-meter warship. Burned magnificently. P.S. Ask for a genuine subscription. Chapter 138 Battle Situation. The 7,000-meter warship is falling apart. The high-temperature molten nano cloud will eat this behemoth in one go, and at the corner of this 7,000-meter battleship, Songboy's fighter plane flew across a miserable arc, as if it had lost power, and staggered from the midair, barely falling, and it was about to land in this molten hell. But at this moment, 3 tractor rays flew from the side, forcibly pulling his fighter up. That was the other 3 Black Stars intervening here, and in the distance, in the Red Pioneer and Liang, the pupils of Lin Yuandong and Qiao Xianqin reflected the crimson fire, and the expressions on their faces were extremely excited and uplifting. Qiao Xianchen said with emotion. It would be so cool if we also have such a 7,000-meter warship, haha. Old Qiao, there will definitely be. We must drive this kind of warship to sweep the starry sky and make others helpless. Lin Yuandong laughed, and immediately ordered, the fighter plane has arrived, open fire in all directions, and annihilate this ship in one fell swoop. Ghost Ship Fleet. At the same time, the Outer Space Battlefield Report Commander, Jupiter is orbiting the battlefield. Captain Lin has sent the latest battle report. They have disintegrated the combat effectiveness of the Ghost Ship Fleet and are doing the final annihilation. Although they also suffered heavy losses, the main combat effectiveness of the 3rd and 4th battle groups has not been lost. Battle reports from the front line arrived in the Xinjiang fleet, which was exchanging fire with the Proxima fleet in outer space in the shortest possible time. Hearing this news, many people showed excitement, and the panic that had just been accompanied by the destruction of the Narcissus and the almost complete destruction of the 5th battle group of the Xinjiang fleet subsided a lot. All are aware that once again the balance of war has shifted at this moment. The fleet of the Xinjiang fleet is once again closing in space, and then separated again and began to retreat towards the Earth. The frigate of Li Hexuan, who completed part of the search and rescue mission, has also regrouped into the fleet, and retreated to the direction of the Earth under the unified command of the fleet. At this moment, the main combat purpose of the Xinjiang fleet is no longer to immediately annihilate the Proxima fleet. The attack is more focused on preventing them from combining with each other to form a big gun array, so as to greatly reduce the Proxima fleet. The Star Fleet is an immediate threat to the Xinjiang fleet. Suran has changed her tactics. The main battleship group of the Xinjiang fleet will no longer be the main attacking party, but will become a functional existence, which is to organize the Proxima Centauri fleet to exert their combat effectiveness. In contrast, the ring planets that played an auxiliary role in the previous battles, the Earth cannon and space satellite array of the defense system, will replace the Xinjiang fleet as the main attack to annihilate the dodecahedral cone-shaped spacecraft of the Proxima Centauri fleet. The effect of this tactical change was reflected almost immediately. Strong computing power, execution power, and battleship performance are the strengths of Proxima Starfleet warships. It is necessary to ensure that they are organized to form an array and complete their annihilation at the same time. It is almost impossible for the fleet. But it is much simpler to simply prevent them from forming a threatening array of focusing dish cannons in space. Although the total battle damage of the 3 battleships of the Xinjiang fleet has reached 17 or even greater than the number of existing battleships in one battle group, the firepower is still sufficient. If the array cannot be formed, their threat to the Xinjiang fleet will be greatly reduced, and the two sides will enter a stalemate. In this case, the heavy blow from the Earth is the key to breaking this balance. The Earth's satellite array and ground cannons do not have a high hit rate for the Proxima fleet warships in space, but the Earth can afford it, and the Xinjiang fleet can also afford it. Because of this kind of dispatch, the Xinjiang fleet is blocked in the middle. It is almost impossible for the battle group of the Proxima Centauri fleet to go beyond the Xinjiang fleet to attack the Earth's circumplanetary defense system. In this way, the Xinjiang fleet and the Earth will remain invincible. The chaotic Proxima fleet couldn't survive any further, and was stuck in the starry sky, unable to advance, unable to retreat, and could only wait to be attacked by the double firepower of the Earth, and was ground to death bit by bit. But despite this, the Proxima Centauri fleet is still moving through space at high speed, avoiding round after round of attacks, and the hull is shining brightly, constantly trying to regroup or form other formations. Some formations look even quite different from the previous focusing dish cannon arrays, and seem to be arrays with other functional functions, but Suran didn't give it a chance to take shape at all. As soon as there was a changing trend, it would be destroyed instantly, trying to ensure that the Proxima Centauri fleet did not have the possibility of making a big move. Of course, Suran didn't really intend to rely on time to wear down this Proxima Centauri. Right now, Jupiter's orbit has received a good news. Just wait for Lin Yuandong and Qiao Xianzhen's 3rd and 4th battle groups to completely wipe out the Proxima Centauri Ghost. The fleet of ships, turning back, can attack back and forth, completely devouring these shining dodecahedral cone-shaped spaceships of Proxima Centauri in one go, and completely ending the battle from any point of view. The situation at this moment is very good under the command of Suran. The warships of the Xinjiang fleet in outer space are launching an attack in an orderly manner while reversing towards the direction of the Earth, and the strikes from the Earth and space attacking satellites are like flashes of light penetrating the planet and the Milky Way, sweeping across the starry sky. The Proxima fleet once wanted to reopen the distance, but at this moment, they have also been caught in the battle group. Unable to withdraw and even have to pay a heavier price, they can only bite the bullet and kill the retreating Zerg fleet, still working hard to form a formation. Wanting to break the deadlock that is as soft as a quagmire and unable to exert strength at this moment certainly. This is just what it looks like. Su Ran didn't feel that the battle was about to end with a big victory for the Zerg fleet because the situation seemed to be turning in his favor. He had predicted long before the start of the war that the current fleet of shining Proxima Centauri or the fleet of ghost ships orbiting Jupiter might not be the main force of Proxima Centauri, and the opponent's main force may appear on the battlefield at any time. Any thought of relaxing may ruin the entire fleet, and now, there were enough dead and wounded in the fleet. Su Ran commanded the entire fleet to retreat towards the Earth, and at the same time issued the latest warning order: we must ensure the operation of our shipboard radar, fleet deep space detection system and ground space radar in real time, and be alert in real time. In the distance, the huge moon is covering the eastern half of the Earth. Looking down from space, the boundary between shadow and light is so clear in this space melee, it is the only irrelevant spectator. Chapter 139 Leap. A dodecahedral spaceship with a glow of Proxima Centauri explodes. Who took a deep breath, looked at the Proxima Centauri fleet, which still appeared to be huge in number, and remained silent. The battle has entered a short-term stalemate. The Earth and the Zerg fleet strikes are speeding through space like light train. The Proxima fleet relies on its mobility and powerful computing power to forcibly evade, and maintains that there will be no large-scale attacks. Battle damage, but so far, according to the latest statistics, the number of battle damage of these dodecahedral conical spaceships of Proxima Centauri has reached 93. In contrast, the Zerg fleet, except for the initial 17 warships, were lost in battle when they approached the enemy, and after gradually figuring out the opponent's combat patterns and methods and finding countermeasures, the Zerg fleet has only lost one Enlightenment-class warship. These Proxima Centauri dodecahedral cone-shaped spacecraft seem to still be shining brilliantly in the starry sky, but in fact, it is only a matter of time before they are wiped out. But the Zerg fleet can't afford it. Although who is not as good as the commanders of the other battle groups at the command level of the fleet, he understands that the threat of Proxima Centauri is far more than that. With absolute threat, it's never more threatening than an enemy that doesn't show up. Moreover, from the very beginning, Your Excellency, Commander, began to require warships at all levels to report the changes in the space around them, and obtained the space gravity and space changes in the near space of the Earth from the ground radar station of the Zerg fleet, and requested to report an update every half a minute. Anyone can see the care and prudence in the data. Only Qiao Xiangchen and the two of them haven't solved the ghost ship fleet yet. If they can quickly jump back, they must be able to quickly resolve the battle. At the same moment, at the back position of the Zerg fleet, which opened its formation and opened fire in full swing, the last frigate of the 5th battle group was in this position and flew back in the direction of the Earth. Li Huxun sat on his captain's seat, his eyes were bloodshot. He wished he could rush up and tear apart the Proxima fleet outside, but Su Ran ordered him to return to Earth. Although Li Huxun didn't want to leave the battlefield at all, and even wished to kill the Proxima Star fleet, he knew that he couldn't do this and had to return to Earth as soon as possible. Because there were still a large number of wounded on his battleship, his frigate only rescued more than 200 people. Even if many people were rescued in the escape cabin, they still had a lot of horrible burns on their bodies, and some of them were severely radiated. In his battleship, there are not enough medical personnel. In the back cabin of his frigate, there are people lying on the ground, and there are wailing and screaming everywhere. A handful of medical workers are on the go. However, these men are good compared to the fighters who have been wiped out in the blow. Li Huxun gritted his teeth tightly, but his eyes were fixed on the medical diagnosis information that had just been reported. Captain Tong Maya Okyu is on the rescue list, but her injuries are serious and she is in a deep coma. Severe burns and tissue and organ failure have been detected. Li Huxun's lips turned wide, and he murmured, "Captain Tong, you will not die. We have the technology of Zerg and Spore life. You will never die, you will never die." At this moment, the outer space battlefield can be described as full of rays of light, all kinds of flashes, and the automatic enemy-seeking missiles propelled by the thrusters are flying randomly in space, and the Zerg fleet is pouring firepower non-stop in order to prepare for the war. Su Ran had invested a lot of resource points to build ammunition early on, and other countries on the Earth also provided some conventional ammunition for the Zerg fleet. As for the Earth, the planetary defense system on the side heading towards the battlefield has been fully activated. 2 groups of satellites fired alternately, and sharp energy beams shuttled across the space on the Earth. In China, the Russian Federation and other countries, Every electromagnetic gun and ground laser gun that has been completed is pouring firepower crazily, and the barrels of each heavy gun have even become hot and hot. The system couldn't even cool down completely in time, but it was still running at a high intensity, and it wouldn't stop the fire until it reached the limit because everyone involved understands that they must not stop. This is not a war between human beings, but a war with alien civilizations. If something goes wrong, it will not be one or two people who die, or even hundreds of thousands of people, but tens of millions of people. Earth Chinese capital. The first important member has not spoken for a long time. He just watched silently. The battlefield is in a stalemate, and the last order he gave before was to cooperate with the Xinjiang fleet to search the battlefield and the extraterrestrial space outside the battlefield that may exist other threats. If the first important person doesn't speak, there will be few people speaking in the field, and their eyes will be identified and serious. No one who can sit here as a peer. They all understand that whether this war can be resolved quickly depends on when the third and fourth battle groups in the orbit of Jupiter return in triumph. Everyone is waiting for the moment when these two battle groups jump out of the transition channel and the naval guns flash in outer space waiting, and at this moment, urgent report. Mr. First Officer, we have detected a directional jump, which is located in the center of our extraterrestrial battlefield in the eastern hemisphere, between the Earth and the Moon at a distance of 12,000 kilometers. Judging from the data, the scale of this jump is unprecedented. No, wait, there is a second large-scale transition with the same frequency. Oh my god, it appeared on the back of the Earth battlefield. Their transition data is still rising. So far, it seems that Xinjiang, the two battle groups of the fleet, two directional jumps. These are the directional jumps that Your Excellency the Commander took the initiative to pull here. The third and fourth battle groups are back in the field. Someone immediately made a judgment excitedly. However, the first important person sitting at the top frowned, and there was nothing to relax. Yes, the directional jump means that the third and fourth battle groups of the Xinjiang fleet are back, and the battle will completely turn to humans. But why? What is the reason? At this moment, I didn't feel relaxed, but a little uneasy and fearful. Kyushu Island, the temporary base of the Xinjiang fleet. Li Huxon's ship is still returning slowly, but this side has already begun to prepare. The fleet's resident personnel on the ground are rushing. A large number of medical personnel and logistics personnel have already been prepared under the arrangement of Zhang Jianguo. Outside the station, I don't know who leaked the news. A large number of survivors gathered outside, including blacks, whites and yellows, donkeying people, American emperors and even Chinese people. They spoke the languages of various countries and shouted pretty much the same content. I am a doctor, I can help. I used to be the head nurse of Jingdu Hospital, and I was waiting outside. As long as the Xinjiang fleet needs it, I am willing to help at any time. And in the fleet station, Zheng Xiaoshino also came outside. She didn't look inside and outside the station, but stood under the darkening sky and stared at the night sky. Her expression seemed so calm, but she didn't move away for a long time when she looked at it. Li's fists were tightly clenched. Captain Tong and Representative Jin, you guys have to come back alive. And in the back position, Meng Yibei also came out at some point. She stared at the sky. For some reason, her heart suddenly beat like a drum. It's like the creature has met a mortal threat, and at this moment, Meng Yibei noticed that a halo suddenly lit up in the sky. That is Chapter 140 Skylight. Shenzhen. The sky's darkening today in Shenzhen is a cloudy weather. Only the huge hole opened by the Shenzhen cannon in the sky is the only gap between the thick clouds. Earlier, when the setting sun had not yet set, the rays of the setting sun from this gap, a blood-colored beam of light formed and shrouded, covering the landing point of the Shenzhen cannon, bathing this place in blood color. It was a miraculously majestic macroscopic view. But at this moment, with the passage of time, the moon is reappearing in the sky of the eastern hemisphere, the sunset is setting at the end of the sky, and the earth is getting darker and darker in Shenzhen. In the cold winter, there is no snow, but a drizzle falling from the sky, falling between the streets and buildings that are almost shrouded in darkness. When the end of the world broke out, Shenzhen was a heavy city. Although it fell once, it was also recaptured later. China's #1 dark energy research institute was even located in Shenzhen. After the Pacific War, Shenzhen was the main survivor of the surrounding areas. The speed of restoration and construction is unprecedented. As early as half a month ago, there were already thousands of lights in the night of Shenzhen. Although it was not as prosperous as before the end of the world, it made Shenzhen's winter nights unstoppable. So cold again today, however, almost all non-essential power supply Shenzhen was cut off, and the main energy source of the whole city was to supply energy for the two sets of cannons in Shenzhen. Even though Shenzhen's cannons are far from running out of energy, the Kyoto side has already issued strict orders before the war that all resources should be directed towards war, and preparations must be made for protracted wars and bloody battles. Of course, ordinary people in Shenzhen are not clear about these details. For the vast majority of them, they only know that the Xinjiang fleet has already exchanged fire with the Proxima fleet. Just for war, the corner of Shenzhen, in a 27-story building, in a room on the 18th floor, a girl who is about 7 or 8 years old and wearing a pink dress is lying on the bedside, half of her face is pressed against the window, her big eyes are open, and she, www.spequich.me, is staring out of the window intently. Far empty. Whoosh, with a howl, a comet-like silver flash flashed across the girl's dark eyes. The beam energy rays emitted by the Shenzhen cannon in the distance roared through the air and swept into space from the hole in the clouds in the sky, aiming at a fast-flying Proxima Centauri dodecahedron-shaped spacecraft on the path traversed by the beam energy. The fine raindrops are directly vaporized. Pity. Girls can't see that much, but just such a picture is enough to make her watch it endlessly. And at this moment, footsteps sounded, and her father walked over from behind, glanced at his daughter, and rubbed her head lovingly. Dad, look. Are we fighting the alien villain? Yeah, we're fighting the alien villain. Can we win? What do the alien villains look like? Why can't I see them? The girl became excited, clenching her fists. I want to fight the alien villains too. You are so young. I believe you will have a chance when you grow up, but for now, just stay at home. Honestly, this time, let other uncles deal with it. Her father smiled. They're fighting far away in space, so you can't see them. Oh. The girl prolonged her voice. A little disappointed, but she soon thought of something again, and she cheered up, waved her little fist, and looked at her father with blinking eyes. It's the Xinjiang fleet that is here. Beat someone bad. Do you still know about the Xinjiang fleet? The father was slightly taken aback, and asked a little dumbfounded. Of course. Xinjiang fleet, who doesn't know? I also know that there are 2 female captains in it. When I grow up, I will also join the Xinjiang fleet and become a female captain. Seeing his daughter's serious expression, the father was a little amused. Seeing her eyes full of doting, he rubbed her head. My daughter wants to be a captain, so I'll be spoiled, but you have to work hard to live first. Zio AI, you have to know that only by living hard can you grow up and realize your dream. Then do we need to hide? I saw a lot of people going to a place called an air raid shelter yesterday. Why don't we go? This question caused the girl's father to fall into a rather long silence. He was a little unable to answer. He could not tell his daughter that the priority to enter the air raid shelter was technicians, engineers, awakened and fighter families, and because he was a father I have no ability, so I can only stay on the ground and wait for the second batch or even the third batch of opportunities. Dad, sensing her father's sudden silence, the girl turned her head, a little puzzled. The father slowly came back to his senses at this time. He smiled, rubbed his daughter's head, did not choose to make up a nonsense to make himself look good, but said, because Dad can't get the quota to enter the air raid shelter, you have to remember that when you grow up, you must be capable. No matter how the world changes, how the times change, or even whether the country exists or not, whether there is such a priority to evacuate, the elite will always be able to people who live a long time. The girl listened to these words, half understood, nodded, and said with a smile, Dad, I will become a female captain in the future, and we are the elite. The father laughed and looked down at his child. His eyes were full of love, but the girl looked away early and looked out of the window. Her big bright eyes seemed to have seen some surprise, and they opened beautifully. Dad, look quickly, it's dawn, it's already night. How could it be? The father shook his head and wanted to deny what his naive daughter had just explained, but when he turned his head and looked into the sky, he couldn't continue. The sky did light up. It was an unknown ray of light that came from above the firmament. That ray of light was so wide and grand that it penetrated through layers of clouds to reflect all the dark clouds that shrouded Shenzhen. Those rays of light penetrated through the clouds, even let this city of Shanghai be as bright as day on the street. Many people in a hurry raised their heads in surprise in the building. The hiding survivors lay by the windows one by one, staring at the scene in the sky, shock, not knowing what happened. Every person, every pair of black eyes, reflects this glorious sky from a far away place. There was a loud rumbling sound like the end of the world. The 6,000-kilometer-long land of Shenzhen is brightening up brilliantly. Chapter 141 Proxima Star Warship. 1 minute and 7 seconds ago, the Xinjiang fleet in extraterrestrial space was the first to detect the changes in space caused by the transition. This is a directional jump. This means that someone at this end of the starry sky entered a set of coordinates, and the jumpers on the other side of the starry sky traveled through this coordinate. However, we haven't received any jumping requests from Captain Kiao and Captain Lin, and the exact coordinates are also different from the expected jumping destinations that we had previously agreed with the two captains. Li Yilin completed the data comparison through the advanced battleship system almost immediately, but the result made her heart sink all the way. Moreover, from the point of view of the parameters of this jump, there is a 78% coincidence with the data changes induced by the jump of the Proxima Centauri fleet, but just the scale of the jump this time is larger than the current record of the Proxima Centauri fleet. The scale of a dodecahedral conical spaceship is much larger, at least 10,000 times more. Yuan Lichen, who sat on the other side and hadn't spoken for a long time, slapped the table fiercely, looked at the team member in charge of Starry Sky Monitoring, who had just made the above report, and said angrily, "What do you mean by at least 10,000 times or more? This is during the war. How did you board the Yuncheng? We need accurate data. The data is still being compared. We will." The crew member was taken aback and quickly explained, but at this moment, another soldier beside him who was also in charge of monitoring the starry sky stood up. At this moment, "Report to Your Excellency, Commander. We have detected a second large-scale transition." "No, a super large-scale transition. It's the jump parameters are almost exactly the same as the super large-scale jump just now, and the coordinates currently located are in the direction of the Western Hemisphere, facing away from our fleet, facing the sky over North America. And this seems to be just the beginning. Reporting to Your Excellency, Commander, the frontline Proxima Fleet dodecahedral cone-shaped spacecraft battle group changed its course, and they rushed towards us instead." "Report to Commander, the Proxima Starfleet dodecahedron cone spaceship battle group will no longer attack my fleet, Your Excellency, Commander." A piece of information boiled over the entire fleet in just a few breaths. Not even 20 seconds. Su Ran saw that the water cup she had placed by the seat trembled slightly, and that thing was fixed by the magnetic device on the captain's seat of the battleship Yuncheng. This means the magnetic field is changing, but he never spoke, just kept silent. Everyone is looking at the person sitting in the first place. "Your Excellency the Commander." The voice of the report gradually decreased. Silence began to envelop the entire bridge, and even the entire fleet. "The people who can sit here, the members who can appear in the command and combat system of the Xinjiang fleet, no one is a fool." In fact, as early as 10 seconds ago, when the two transition messages were confirmed, many people, "You have already realized what is going to happen or what is happening now." Yuan Lichen didn't really want to get angry. He was just a little scared and nervous because everyone understands what such a super large-scale transition means in the eyes of one after another. The commander is slowly standing up from his position. Su Ran stood up. He turned his back to everyone, but his eyes seemed to be far-reaching. He looked towards the end of the starry sky. It is very close to the battlefield of the Proxima Fleet and the Xinjiang Fleet, less than 20,000 kilometers away from the Earth. It can be said that it is stuck in the middle of the Xinjiang Fleet and the Proxima Fleet battle group. If it is an enemy, it will jump from this angle. If it comes out, there is no doubt that it will be bombarded by the Xinjiang Fleet. Moreover, the moment of leaving the transition can be said to be the most difficult time for a battleship to evade and defend. So, why did the enemy fleet choose to make the jump in this position? Answer: right in front of you a ray of light is shining in the space. From the visual point of view, the moment the transition is completed is like a shining crack in the universe. Because the light is too dazzling, this crack is so clear, and then, with this brilliant light, a colossus was slowly leaving the transition channel, shining on the bank of the galaxy. No, it is no longer enough to describe this thing as a behemoth. Looking obliquely from the Yuncheng where Su Ran was, he could see the huge figure of the moon at first, but now, with the appearance of this thing, the view of the moon is half blocked. There was deathly silence on the bridge. It was an incomparably huge battleship, as if it was a Titan-class battleship in various science fiction games on Earth. This is the battleship of Proxima Centauri. Its appearance is also in the state of dodecahedron. But compared with those conical warships with a size of only 50 meters, it is many times larger. From the comparison data, its volume is only half that. One of the moons is a little smaller, and its dodecahedron is closer to a circle, and its outer armor is still the same dazzling and shining structure as other Proxima star warships. Like a one-piece armor, eternal twinkling stars, it stretched across the starry sky, and the remaining 20 warships of the Xinjiang fleet scattered in front of it even looked so small, like ants at the feet of gods. For it, The Earth seems to be only close at hand. Its swirling magnetic field changes and gravitational pull even cause earthquakes and tsunamis on the surface of Earth and the Moon. It is it that illuminates the night sky in the eastern hemisphere, making Shenzhen shrouded in darkness so bright and brilliant even through heavy clouds. The battlefield was completely divided. No, at this moment, here, is there still a battlefield? In the Xinjiang fleet, every corner of every warship is illuminated inside and out by the star-like dazzling warship, and this is not the end. Less than 5 seconds later, on the other side of the Earth, in the outer space of the Western Hemisphere, where it was still daytime, a second planetary-class battleship of the same level jumped out of the jump channel, and the huge shining hull shrouded like a giant's face. The Earth is big, infinitely approaching this blue planet. North America, from Los Angeles to Washington, from Panama to Gothab, from Guatemala to Canada, in every corner of this continent. As long as you walk out of the door, stand outside the door, and look up at the sky, you will be able to see this huge ship, and see the thing that exists like a god in the sky. The sea is roaring, and the mountains are collapsing at this moment. The Proxima Centauri fleet actually came to Earth. The end of the world has arrived. I don't know if any students have noticed that there are many chapter names related to Proxima Centauri, but this is the first chapter that actually uses the Proxima Centauri battleship. Chapter 142 Tides. England. London. The 90-year-old Queen of England put on a luxurious dress, climbed up the tall tower with the support of her personal guards, and looked out to the distance of the seashore. At the end of the sea, where the sea and the sky line, there is a faint white line surging and surging. The old man squinted his eyes slightly, just watching in silence, holding on to the railing, squeezing it tight little by little. And at the far end, the streets are full of people, and at a higher position, England's fighter planes roared into tracer, heading straight for the surging white line, Kyushu Island, the temporary survivor base of the Xinjiang fleet. The old man Zhang Jianguo sat in the command center, silently listening to the earthquake reports from various departments. But at this time, even the shaking of the ground no longer seemed so thrilling, because just outside, countless people are stopping to look up at the magnificent spectacle of the sky. Washington Albert, the head of state of the United States, was walking out of the White House, standing there as if in the wailing stern wind, looking up at the behemoth in the sky that is a face, a shining face of God without nose, eyes, mouth. It is coldly overlooking the land of North America, and its mere breath has brought endless disasters to this world. Albert's executive officer is reporting the current situation. The heavy artillery of the circumplanetary defense system in our country is still in operation and can continue to fight. The disasters caused by large-scale gravitational tides and magnetic fields are still within the controllable range. After all, they are only enemies. Ship, not the 2 satellites newly captured by the Earth. The consultant of the U.S. National Security Agency suggested, "Your Excellency, I suggest that we leave Washington and North America immediately. It is likely to become extremely dangerous here." And the latest suggestion given by the Xinjiang fleet also hopes that we can organize evacuation as soon as possible. Where can we retreat? Albert, the head of state of the United States, shook his head slowly at this moment. He looked up at the huge monster in the sky that could not even be seen at a glance. He noticed, every edge of that huge dodecahedron began to shine brighter. It was like gathering energy. China Kyoto. The first important person unexpectedly left the command room at this time. A high-ranking official thought that the big man wanted to evacuate, and hurriedly asked for arrangements, but all he got was Li Jianbang's cold gaze. The senior official stopped talking, and sat back obediently. This big man in China walked out like this: "People looked at me, I looked at you." No one knew what he was doing, and with a gaze just now, no one dared to really follow for a while. After a while, a person stood up slowly. It was a character who might be considered a big man outside, but could only be regarded as a small man here. Jin Xian. He didn't say anything, just walked out all the way and followed the first important official. The number 1 officer is actually just going to step out and take a look at that thing in the sky with his own eyes, even if he had clearly seen it in the picture sent back. And the Proxima Star warship that landed in the Eastern Hemisphere is located between Asia, the Pacific Ocean, and Dongyin Island, and its position is lower. From his perspective, he can only see its brilliant corner, but he just watched and watched. Standing behind him, Jin Xian didn't say anything, just stared at the sky and the incredible alien warship. In space, Xinjiang fleet Suran has already returned to his position. Just now, the remaining 100 Proxima Centauri small spaceships have all entered the half-moon-sized warship. So far, the Xinjiang fleet has not fired again, and just now Suran has issued an order to inform the latest situation of the Earth. Immediately afterwards, Suran immediately raised his head, because at this moment, The behemoth covering the eastern hemisphere once again released a large number of small dodecahedral conical spaceships. Judging from the first calculation data of the fleet, at least 1,000 ships. However, the huge Proxima dodecahedron warship did not take the initiative to open fire on the Zerg fleet. Is this because the Proxima fleet likes to use small fighters to fight despite having such a large mothership? No, the answer is not so. At this moment, every face of the dodecahedron of the half-moon-shaped huge dodecahedron warship glowed with dazzling light like a star, and every edge was condensing flashes, one after another. The previous point that converges toward a corner of the ship, and that point points directly to the blue planet at its feet at this moment. Su-Ran also understood that the home star of the swarm was not destroyed by another civilization, but the Proxima fleet destroyed their home star. The 7-month layout is not just for devouring the vitality of the insect swarm leading the main force of the swarm to the vicinity of Proxima Centauri to destroy it. Is not because the strength of the Proxima Centauri fleet is not much stronger than that of the swarm, but because they have to divide their troops across endless light years to find and destroy the home star of the swarm. What the Proxima star fleet wants is to exterminate the swarm of insects and live forever. They have absolute strength. They can not only destroy the main force of the swarm, but also travel across the endless light years of the starry sky to find and destroy the home star of the swarm. And it is precisely because of the long distance that these two behemoths need to spend time to return to the voyage, so they are so late there, so cautious enough to be willing to spend 7 months planning to deal with the swarm, and not even the main force to eat the swarm, even at any cost to find a swarm parent planet that doesn't even know where it is in this vast galaxy. Su-Ran clenched her teeth, raised her head, and said, "Order the entire fleet to prepare for battle." So what about the planet-like battleship? From the initial judgment, I knew the position of the main force of Proxima Centauri. Although the scale of this main force is beyond the imagination of everyone on Earth, this is already a battle of populations and a battle of civilizations. One step, it is impossible to go back, and at the far end, that ship, no, that huge dodecahedral star overlooking the Earth is slowly tilting, and the brilliant flashes on it are gradually becoming the only brilliant background in the starry sky. Even the moon is reflected extremely brightly at this moment. At the same time, on the other side of the Earth, the star over North America is also doing the same operation, and the energy is gathering and surging. The two strikes have already aimed at this blue planet, ready to go. Chapter 143 Dead End. The energy concentration of the Proxima dodecahedron star battleship is beyond imagination. If this cannon is fired, Kyoto, the first important person, returned to the command room, and the first thing he heard was this slightly trembling voice. Even the big shots sitting here showed a little panic at this moment. It's not that they are too timid, but at this moment, what they really feel is powerless to spare 2 stars, that is unrivaled power. All kinds of combat plans have just been quickly gone through, but there is no possibility of defeating the opponent. Moreover, they have not yet obtained more detailed shield parameters of this star-level behemoth, let alone make an accurate judgment. The most important thing is that, judging from the current situation, although the Zerg fleet in space crashed into the shining star like moths to flame, there are still more than 1,000 small Proxima Centauri ships standing in their way. Battleship. Judging from the current situation, although there is still nearly a minute before the predicted star-like dodecahedron giant battleship completes its energy storage and fires, the possibility that the Zerg fleet can stop it from shooting down is almost 0. What's more, there is no fleet to stop the giant Proxima starship in the Western Hemisphere. The current circumplanetary defense system's attacks on it are completely ignored by them, and they can't even penetrate their shields in such a situation. Mr. First Officer, this, Li Jianbang looked at the slightly noisy command room, and did not speak immediately, but looked at the screen sent back from the space images sent back by the satellites of the circumplanetary defense system. It can be clearly seen that the space between the Earth and the Moon is as bright as daylight, and numerous small dodecahedral warships lie outside like a halo. And the Zerg fleet is rushing towards the Star-class Proxima Star warship at high speed. Along the way, the Zerg fleet poured out firepower frantically. However, no matter from any point of view, this already powerful Zerg fleet is really like a moth that knows it will be scalded to death but follows the light. Those blows looked so pale and insignificant in front of that Star-class battleship. Same, can't even break through the shield. Li Jianbang watched the most powerful laser cannons of the 2 Yunchang-class motherships of the Zerg fleet flashing at the same time. The dazzling beams of light pierced the space, and the small Proxima warships along the way were too late to dodge and were instantly melted. In this terrifying flash, those 2 flashes head across a distance of thousands of kilometers in an instant. No, No hits at all. They collided fiercely on the outer shield of the Proxima Star-class dodecahedron battleship, and failed to penetrate at all, and these two attacks caused ripples on the shield, even like throwing pebbles into the water of Xianxi Lake. Li Jianbang looked at this scene, just looked at it like this. He saw it so clearly. The Xinjiang fleet is desperately trying. That commander's eyes are already red. Because that commander knows better than anyone what the consequences will be if this cannon falls on the earth. Therefore, he is frantically trying to stop this attack with his own fleet, even if it might be futile. Standing behind him, Jin Xian suddenly realized that, at some point since then, the figure of the top official, who had always been straight, suddenly became shorter, as if he was under too heavy a burden. He couldn't breathe. In spacelight, burning eyes, the shining Proxima fleet is so dazzling, just like the real protagonist standing in the center of the stage. Its existence makes the Xinjiang fleet, which is full of pitch-black battleships, so fragile and small. But at this moment, the Xinjiang fleet is charging. Su Ran's order was reaching every warship and every crew member's ears. Everyone in the Xinjiang fleet, I am Commander Su Ran. Now, I issue the last order to advance at full speed. The main ship of the dodecahedron at the target place will pour out your firepower at all costs, at all costs. We must stop it from continuing to shoot. If you don't want to exterminate your species, if you don't want to see the planet under our feet turn into a real scorched earth purgatory, if you don't want to be homeless and hunted down by Proxima Centauri for eternity, we will get rid of them first. We gotta get rid of them today. Su Ran's voice was transmitted, and there was a boiling roar in the battleship. But there were also people who were worried, and Yuan Lichen couldn't help but said, Your Excellency Commander, we're afraid. Yuan Lichen could see clearly that this was a dead end. The star-class dodecahedron spaceship is about to fire, and 1,000 dodecahedron small warships stand between them. Now they have no time to entangle with these small warships of Proxima Centauri, and can only pay a terrible price. Forcibly rushing to the battle is bound to be strong, and there is no choice but, even if all the firepower of the Xinjiang fleet is exhausted, can this huge Proxima Star warship be destroyed? Watching the bombardment of the two main laser cannons disappear on the shield of the enemy ship, the answer seems to be already in everyone's heart. Moreover, judging from the fact that these two stars gave priority to processing the Earth when they appeared, it can also be seen that they probably did not regard the few warships of the Xinjiang fleet as a threat at all. But Yuan Lichen raised his head and looked at Su Ran, who was in the first place. However, Su Ran didn't seem to notice this old friend's gaze at all, just staring at the front like this. Bathed in the dazzling flash of the Proxima Star battleship, Old Yuan, we have no other choice. It was Li Yilin who spoke in a low voice. She was also staring at Su Ran's back, and said with a smile, At this moment, you can't figure it out. It's up to you today. No matter whether our Xinjiang fleet can sink this huge ship, the ending is already doomed. Without sinking, it is impossible for us to run away, and it is even more impossible for the Proxima Star fleet to let go of a human being, and they definitely have such strength to swallow our entire fleet. Even if we leap away, it is impossible to survive in this confrontation. In fact, as long as the Proxima fleet thinks about it, there is no chance for us to jump into the jump channel. I am afraid, and because of this, the appearance of these two behemoths has no intention of attacking our fleet at all. Refers to the Earth. Maybe in their eyes, our fleet has no threat at all, and if we can sink this dodecahedron star, that's the same. Our Xinjiang fleet will pay the worst price ever. The price, and after that, Proxima Centauri's second battleship was something no one could handle, so, he wants to, death and battle before the genocide, death and battle before the mother star collapsed. Yuan Lichen didn't speak again. After hearing these words, he gradually fell silent, and Su Ran in the captain's seat in front might have heard these words too, but his gaze was cast to a place farther than that huge and shining Proxima Centauri warship, and also farther than that eternally silent moon, a place he couldn't see at all. The news should have been delivered. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.